Chapter 15:11. Lin Tian looked at the black hole and glanced at it one last time. He then called the whooshing crocodile and the little Taichu to come to the tree of life. As long as the black hole that was filled with the aura of death was not touched or disturbed, it would not explode. Therefore, there was no need to pay attention to it. He came to the tree of life and raised his hand to draw formation patterns. He set up 12 killing formations around the tree of life to prevent the Ean's spirits from approaching. After all, although the Ean's spirits could not get close now, as they cultivated under the tree of life later, the vitality of the tree of life would gradually be consumed. When it was consumed to a certain extent, the Ean's spirits would definitely pounce on them. At that time, if they were not prepared in advance, it would definitely have a huge impact on their cultivation and comprehension. "Let's begin," he said to the whooshing crocodile and the little Taichu. "Okay." The whooshing crocodile nodded. After receiving Lin Tian's assurance that the black hole of death would not mutate, he was completely relieved and no longer worried about anything. Under the tree of life, his eyes were filled with excitement. He then began to circulate the ancient scripture and began to cultivate. The little Taichu landed on a branch of the huge tree of life and called out to Lin Tian in a childish voice. Then, he began to circulate his unique ancient cultivation method. Speaking of which, the little guy's ancient cultivation method was very unusual. He was born with it. It seemed to be an ancient scripture that was passed down through the bloodline of an ancient clan. It had unparalleled divine power. However, although he had obtained such an ancient scripture from his bloodline, the little guy was not clear about his background at all. There were no clues in his bloodline. I wonder what clan this little guy belongs to. Does he have other clansmen? Where are his birth parents? Do they still exist in this world? Lin Tian looked at the little Taichu and muttered to himself. The little guy was very unusual and very powerful. Both he and the whooshing crocodile were very clear about this. In the past, when the little guy was still in the egg, just the aura it emitted was enough to make some Nirvana ghost saints fear. The moment it came out of the egg, it immediately had the cultivation of an emperor. It could be said to be heaven-defying. Moreover, the terrifying scene that Tian Swansea had drawn when he had divined the little fellow was also very frightening. When he went to the Legacy Saber Pavilion, he saw a hazy figure in the divine sense imprint drawn by the Legacy Saber Pavilion's supreme elder. Like the little fellow, he had the protection of the four spirits. He seemed to be of the same race as the little fellow. That figure was truly terrifying, like a heaven-defying divine emperor. From these incidents, one after another, it was enough to see that the little fellow's origin was extremely shocking and definitely not ordinary. He wondered when he could find the other clansmen of the little one. It would be best if he could find the little one's parents. Of course, that was on the premise that there were other clansmen like the little guy in the world, and that his parents were still alive. He looked at the little fellow and adjusted his breathing. Then, he sat down cross-legged under the tree of life and began to circulate the Sun Heart Sutra. Buzz! As he circulated the Sun Heart Sutra, a faint golden divine light immediately appeared outside his body. He used this ancient sutra to circulate his essence, energy, and spirit to the peak. Then his spirit shook, and his divine sense spread out, surrounding this space and drawing in strands of the tree of life's power, causing his divine sense to become purer and stronger. His entire body merged with heaven and earth, and he began to explore the existence of the Tao in heaven and earth, as if his soul was wandering in an unknown dimensional space. For a time, the golden divine light outside his body became even denser. Walala! The tree of life swayed, and pure white light intertwined in the sky, bringing with it a shocking aura of life and also a kind of holiness. Outside the tree of life, densely packed Ean's spirits gathered together, forming a dense circle. At this moment, seeing Lin Tian, whooshing crocodile, and little Taichu close to the tree of life, and sensing the majestic vitality of the tree of life entering their bodies, they all let out ferocious roars, which were as ear-piercing as glass rubbing against each other. Lin Tian, whooshing crocodile, and little Taichu were not affected in the slightest. This was because Lin Tian's killing formation not only had tyrannical offensive power, but also had a certain degree of isolation power. The roars of these Aeon spirits were completely isolated by these dozens of killing formations, and could not be transmitted to their ears. Buzz! Divine light intertwined outside the bodies of the man and the two beasts. Their essence, energy, and spirit were strong, and then a faint Tao light emerged. Then, as time passed, their essence, energy, and spirit gradually became stronger, and the Tao light outside their bodies also gradually became stronger. Myriad Domains Imperial Star, outside the Soul Death Valley. At this moment, the cultivation world of the Myriad Domains Imperial Star was in an uproar. Not long ago, the underground world of the Soul Death Valley appeared, and a vast aura of death mixed with a shocking aura of life rushed out, causing the expressions of many powerful cultivators in the cultivation world to change. Such a dense aura of life. It's definitely some kind of amazing treasure of heaven and earth. It must be priceless. The eyes of many cultivators lit up. Many experts had already started to move, rushing towards the Ghost Death Valley. Moreover, some powerful sects were also alarmed, and some powerful existences in their sects rushed towards the Soul Death Valley. The aura of life rushing out from the Soul Death Valley was simply too shocking, like an ocean of life. The aura of life was so dense that it was like an ocean of life, and even true immortal experts would be moved by it. At the center of the Myriad Domains Imperial Star, within the 100,000 Immortal Mountains Manwei Dynasty, someone reported that the person who killed Yin Zhongwang and the two beasts beside him were seen by chance heading towards the Soul Death Valley. In a hall of this branch, an expert of the Manwei Dynasty reported to the Emperor of the Manwei Dynasty in the hall. The Emperor of the Manwei Dynasty's blood qi was dense, and his Tao power was astonishing. He had already condensed 8 strands of celestial origin energy and was only half a step away from the true immortal realm. When he heard the report, his eyes immediately flashed with a cold light. At the same time, there were other important figures of this branch in the hall. When they heard the report, their eyes all flashed with killing intent. The true ancestors are preparing to make a trip to the Soul Death Valley to report this matter to the true ancestors. They will suppress that bastard, take back all the star stones, and then execute him. No, they must make him suffer a fate worse than death. One of the important figures gnashed his teeth. A few days ago, a group of Eternal Realm experts came out to search for Lin Tian, who killed Yin Zhongwang, but they all died. Even the 3 true immortals and true ancestors of their branch died when they went to retrieve the 1,000 Illusions Sacred Orchid. It was a heavy loss for the Manwei Dynasty, and they did not even know who killed the 3 true immortals, true ancestors, and the group of Eternal Realm experts. They could only know the truth of their deaths when their soul lamps of life shattered. Because of this matter, the entire Wanwei Empire had been feeling extremely uncomfortable over the past few days. Each and every one of the big shots had been suppressing the anger in their hearts. When they heard that Lin Tian was the one who had killed Yin Zhongwang and taken away all the star stones, they immediately found a way to vent their anger. They could not wait to find Lin Tian immediately and take the star stones that Lin Tian had taken from Yin Zhongwang. After that, they would use all sorts of cruel methods to torture Lin Tian. In the underground world of the Netherworld Death Valley, the underground world was dim and the Aeon Qi was very thick. Many Aeon spirits were screaming, and their voices were very ear-piercing, like glass rubbing against each other. Buzz! Under the super tree of life, Lin Tian, Wuxing Crocodile, and Little Taichu were drawing on the majestic vitality of the tree of life to cultivate. The most important thing was to use the power of the super tree of life to comprehend the law of immortal Tao that existed between heaven and earth, and to condense celestial core power. In this place, as long as they could condense a strand of celestial core power, they could all step into the half-step true immortal realm. Lin Tian sat cross-legged under the tree of life. Golden divine light intertwined around his body. His powerful divine sense was vast and mighty outside his body, drawing the vitality of the tree of life into his divine sense. His mind wandered between heaven and earth, searching for the immortal Tao between heaven and earth. Using the divine sense to search for Tao was very different from using the divine sense to search for some things. After all, Tao was not an ordinary object. It was very difficult to use the divine sense to search for the Tao between heaven and earth, especially the immortal Tao that was stronger than the great Tao. However, Lin Tian's cultivation was very strong, and with the help of the tree of life in this place, the process of searching for the immortal Tao was very smooth. It didn't take long for him to sense the existence of the immortal Tao. Compared to the great Tao, the immortal Tao was more vast, and the rhythm of the Tao was thicker. There was a difference in levels. At this moment, he found the existence of the immortal Tao one after another. Lin Tianji felt that these immortal Taos were like divine dragons. Although these immortal Taos all intertwined with the ripples of the law of immortal Tao, they were all different. Some immortal Taos were full of sharpness, some were full of dreams, some were full of slaughter, and some were full of coldness. Each immortal Tao was very shocking. Immortal Tao of fire, immortal Tao of breaking demon, immortal Tao of wood, immortal Tao of earth, immortal Tao of wind slashing. The immortal Taos coiled around the divine lakeside. Lin Tian could clearly identify what immortal Tao each immortal Tao was. He released his powerful divine will and borrowed the power of the tree of life to explore the immortal Tao of heaven and earth on a deeper level. He then discovered that the immortal Tao of dreams and the immortal Tao of thorns of the two itinerant cultivators who had fought for the 1,000 illusion divine orchid were very extraordinary. He scanned these immortal Taos with his divine will and didn't immediately integrate his divine will into one immortal Tao to comprehend. Instead, he continued to explore and search for other immortal Taos. Immortal Tao of decay, immortal Tao of sword, immortal Tao of astral saber, immortal Tao of ice, immortal Tao of amplification. His divine will was unusually strong. With the power of the tree of life, he gradually discovered more immortal Taos, all of them rich in Tao. Then 15 minutes passed in the blink of an eye. After scanning the immortal Taos, he sensed a shocking power of thunder. Immortal Tao of thunder. His heart trembled. The immortal Tao of thunder was a part of the divine Tao of thunder. It was young and tough, focused on killing, and was fierce and domineering. At this time, he found the immortal Tao of thunder. He paused for a moment and decided that this would be the immortal Tao after the immortal realm. Chapter 15:12. After deciding that the immortal Tao to enter the immortal realm was the thunder immortal Tao, Lin Tian no longer hesitated. He immediately circulated the Heart Sutra of Sun even faster. Then, he merged his divine sense into the thunder immortal Tao, wholeheartedly comprehending and using his heart to understand the power of the thunder immortal Tao. Suddenly, he felt that his mind had entered a vast sea of thunder, and his divine sense felt waves of stabbing pain. However, the stabbing pain did not last for too long. As he merged with his divine sense even more attentively, the stabbing pain disappeared in just a few breaths. His divine sense merged with the thunder immortal Tao even more smoothly, and was surrounded by endless thunder Tao. The reason why he could merge his divine sense into the thunder immortal Tao so quickly was because he had experienced more than a dozen heavenly tribulations and mastered the 5 heavenly thunders technique since he started cultivating. He had a great adaptability to the power of thunder. Thunder, the power of nature, the most young and tough, domineering and fierce. He muttered to himself. After his divine sense merged with the thunder immortal Tao, he began to wholeheartedly comprehend and experience the power of the thunder immortal Tao. For a moment, he felt that he had entered a world of thunder, as if everything in the world was about to be shattered. In fact, his real body was still sitting cross-legged under the tree of life. Thus, he calmly comprehended the thunder immortal Tao. Because of the heavenly tribulations and his mastery of the 5 heavenly thunders technique, coupled with the super tree of life in this place, the process was unusually fast. It did not take long for him to feel that he had a certain level of understanding of the thunder immortal Tao and could condense celestial core power. His divine sense merged with the thunder immortal Tao. At this time, he began to guide the origin Tao seal of the thunder immortal Tao closer to his body. He wanted to leave a seal of the thunder immortal Tao on his body so that he could condense the first thunder celestial core power. This was considered a preliminary understanding of the thunder immortal Tao. After that, he would have to comprehend it at a deeper level. Every time he comprehended it to a certain extent, he could condense a thunder celestial core power. At least 9 thunder celestial cores would fuse with each other. At this time, it was equivalent to completely controlling the thunder immortal Tao. In this way, he could step into the true immortal realm. He guided a wisp of the thunder immortal Tao seal of the thunder immortal Tao. The origin Tao seal of the thunder immortal Tao was invisible, and it quickly came into his body. He began to brand the thunder immortal Tao seal of the immortal Tao of the thunder immortal Tao seal of the thunder immortal Tao. Buzz! Suddenly, Tao lights surged within his body, turning into ripples that spread out from the center of his body. The thunder origin Tao seal that he had drawn into his body was directly forced out. This caused his body to tremble. At this moment, the nameless law of the way in his body moved on its own as if it had its own consciousness. It tried its best to repel the thunderbolt seal that he had drawn into his body. He frowned and suddenly remembered something. When he had comprehended the nameless way law, he had obtained the source of the way that could temper his own way law. At that time, he had wanted to refine the source of the way, but he had been rejected by the nameless way law in his body. Later, he had stepped into the nirvana realm. He should have been able to control more great ways like other nirvana realm cultivators, but in fact, he could not. The nameless way law in his body strongly rejected other great ways, and other great ways could not be integrated into his body at all. This made it so that when he reached the peak of the eternal realm, the only way he could control was the nameless way law. Other eternal realm experts of the same realm had mastered at least a dozen great ways. Before he had comprehended the immortal way, he had not thought about these problems. It was only now that he had drawn a wisp of the thunder immortal ways origin Tao seal into his body and was rejected that he suddenly thought of this problem. Let's try again. He paused and muttered to himself. The Sun Heart Sutra circulated again. After a while, he once again drew a wisp of the thunder immortal ways origin Tao seal into his body, preparing to integrate it into his flesh and spirit body to condense his first immortal core power. This time, the result was the same. The nameless way law in his body vibrated on its own, and Tao light rippled out like water ripples, directly shaking out the wisp of the thunder immortal ways origin Tao seal that he had drawn into his body. He gritted his teeth and once again drew in a wisp of the thunder immortal ways origin Tao seal. Then the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th time, but the result was the same. All 10 times it ended in failure. The nameless way law in his body uncontrollably rejected the thunder immortal ways origin Tao seal that he had drawn into his body. F***ck. He could not help but curse. He knew that the nameless way law in his body was very powerful, but no matter how powerful it was, it could not reject the immortal Tao like this. If it continued to reject it, how was he going to condense immortal core power? If he could not condense immortal core power, how was he going to advance from the eternal realm to the perfected immortal realm? Last time, he clenched his fists and drew the thunder immortal ways origin Tao seal into his body for the 11th time. Buzz! The nameless way law in his body surged on its own, and wisps of Tao light spread out, once again forcefully shaking out the wisp of the thunder immortal ways origin Tao seal that he had drawn into his body. It could not integrate into his flesh and spirit body. This is simply. He opened his eyes and was speechless. He had tried to draw the thunder immortal ways origin Tao seal into his body 11 times in a row, but it was all forced out by the nameless way law. This was completely rejecting other Taos from entering his body. How was he going to advance to the perfected immortal realm? What kind of Tao is this? He gritted his teeth. He sat cross-legged under the tree of life. At this moment, the divine light outside his body gradually withdrew, and he stopped cultivating and comprehending the Tao. This was because he was already very clear that there would be no point in continuing. He tilted his head and looked at the whooshing crocodile and the little Taichu. The Tao power in their bodies was becoming stronger, and the speed was very fast. He could vaguely feel that there was a very shocking immortal Tao existence outside their bodies. In this way, he believed that with a little more time, the whooshing crocodile and the little Taichu would be able to smoothly comprehend a trace of the immortal Tao with the help of the super tree of life here, condense a strand of immortal core power, and then step into the half-step perfected immortal realm. What should I do next? He muttered to himself. In order to step into the perfected immortal realm, he had to condense 9 strands of immortal core power. Even if he used special treasures to help, it would only help him quickly comprehend the immortal Tao and condense immortal core power. For his situation, it was completely useless. This was because it was not that he could not comprehend the immortal Tao, but that the nameless way law in his body was rejecting the immortal Tao. He sat cross-legged under the tree of life and began to think about how to solve this problem. Whoosh! 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 Suddenly, the sound of something breaking through the air was heard from afar. A faint light flashed in Lin Tian's eyes as he looked in the direction of the sound of something breaking through the air. Then, in the next moment, the figures of cultivators appeared. They walked along the path that he, the whooshing crocodile, and the little Taichu had walked to this place. Their spirits were extraordinary. This caused him to frown slightly. However, he was not too surprised by this scene. When the underground world was exposed, a very strong life aura rushed out. He could imagine that the vast life aura that rushed out at that time must have alerted many cultivators on the myriad domains imperial planet and led them to this place. Roar! Other than Lin Tian and the Tree of Life, the densely packed Een spirits, numbering more than 100,000, also sensed that there were cultivators rushing to this place. They immediately let out a roar, each with a ferocious expression. The cultivators who came to this place were shocked. Clearly, they did not expect there to be so many Een spirits here. Then, in the next moment, these cultivators' expressions changed again when they saw the super tree of life in front of them. After all, the super tree of life in this place was hundreds of meters tall and was too eye-catching. This is a tree of life? How can it be so tall? That astonishing life aura was emitted by this tree of life. This is a super treasure. The cultivators were shocked. An ordinary tree of life was only around half a zhang tall. However, this tree of life was several hundred zhang tall. It was simply the king of all trees of life. All the cultivators who came here could see the value of this tree of life with just a glance. Even true immortals would be shocked by this. Looking at this super tree of life, these cultivators were stunned. Then, in the next moment, they were shocked again because they saw that there was someone under the tree of life. And he looked very familiar. That is the person wanted by the Manwei dynasty, the person who killed Yin Zhongwang. He's actually here. He actually found this super tree of life first. The 2 demonic beasts that were with him are also there. They are cultivating with the power of the tree of life. These cultivators were shocked, and many of their eyes flickered. They came here because of the vast life aura that rushed out earlier. Now that they found the source of the vast life aura and found a super tree of life, they were very surprised. Even if they only got a branch from this super tree of life, it was still a precious treasure. Many cultivators were ready to fight with the Een spirits, but they found that Lin Tian, who was wanted by the Manwei dynasty, was actually at the location of the tree of life. He had found this place and this tree of life first. Immediately, all the cultivators stopped in their tracks. None of them dashed forward. These people knew how terrifying Lin Tian was. They heard that Lin Tian had a complete corpse of a true, immortal expert. No one below the true, immortal realm could resist him. Now Lin Tian had found this place first and found the super tree of life in this place. Moreover, he was sitting beside the tree of life. So, who would dare to fight for it? Among them, the most powerful one was only at the half-step eternal realm. Lin Tian looked at these cultivators and did not respond. He still sat under the tree of life. These cultivators did not come forward to fight for the tree of life, and he was not worried that they would come forward to fight for it, because the strength of these cultivators could not even resist the killing formation he had engraved on the periphery. Boom! Chapter 15:13. The aura of true immortals was vast and mighty, extremely powerful. In just the blink of an eye, 3 figures rushed over from the distance. They were 3 elders, all of them extremely powerful essence, like 3 furnaces, but also like 3 abysses, giving off a terrifying feeling. Lin Tian looked at the 3 men and narrowed his eyes slightly. True immortals, the 3 true ancestors of the Manwei dynasty. He muttered to himself. The 3 men had a very similar aura to Yin Zhongwang, and even more so to the 3 true immortals of the Manwei dynasty he had killed before. They cultivated the same ancient scriptures, so he did not need to think too much to know their identities. In front of him, the cultivators who had rushed to this place at the beginning also turned pale when they saw the 3 old men. They, the 4th, 5th, and 6th true ancestors of the Manwei dynasty. 3 true immortals. The cultivators were shocked. The 3 true immortals of the Manwei dynasty had rushed here. Then, many people trembled and could not help but turn to look at Lin Tian under the tree of life. The Manwei dynasty had put Lin Tian on the wanted list. Now, the 3 true immortals of the Manwei dynasty had appeared here, and Lin Tian, who was wanted by the Manwei dynasty, was also here. These cultivators all thought that Lin Tian was in danger. At the same time, beside the tree of life, Wuxing Crocodile and Little Taichu sensed the fluctuations of the true immortal's aura. They could not help but tremble and open their eyes. Then, they saw the 3 true immortals of the Manwei dynasty and were shocked. The 3 true immortals of the Manwei dynasty. Like Lin Tianyi, they could also sense that the 3 old men had the same aura as the 3 true immortals of the Manwei dynasty that Lin Tian had killed before. They immediately guessed their identities. Up ahead, 3 true immortals from the Manwei dynasty walked past. The cultivators who had come to this place at the beginning all made way for them. After all, these 3 were experts from the Manwei dynasty, and all of them were true immortals. The 3 of them walked forward and saw many Yin spirits at first glance. They saw the super tree of life and then saw Lin Tian, Wuxing Crocodile, and Little Taichu next to the super tree of life. It really is here. One of the 3 true, immortal level elders looked at Lin Tian coldly. He was the 4th true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty. Before they came here, they received a report from the experts in the dynasty that Lin Tianyi's group was also heading in this direction. Unexpectedly, they really saw Lin Tianyi's group at this place. Their gazes were cold as they looked at the tree of life, Lin Tian, Wuxing Crocodile, and Little Taichu. They walked forward step by step. Roar! Outside the tree of life, many Yin spirits roared. When they saw the 3 of them approaching the tree of life, just like when they saw Lin Tian, Wuxing Crocodile, and Little Taichu approaching the tree of life, they all roared and pounced toward the 3 of them with ferocious expressions. However, this was like a moth flying into a flame. All the Yin spirits that pounced on them were all crushed without exception. Beside the tree of life, Wuxing Crocodile saw this scene and frowned slightly. The 3 true immortals and true ancestors of the Manwei dynasty appeared in this place. After this, it did not have any doubts. These 3 would definitely kill them. It did not even need to think to know. At this juncture, we were forced to come here by these 3 true immortals. As it spoke, it looked at Lin Tian and asked, "Kid, how much power of faith do you have left in your immortal Emperor Pagoda? With your current cultivation, relying on the rich power of faith and in Transcendence Elixir, you should be able to defeat a true immortal even if you don't self-destruct your true immortal artifact, right?" It and Little Taichu both had in Transcendence Elixir, but after seeing the battle between Lin Tian and a true immortal, they knew that even if they had reached the eternal peak, they could not defeat a true immortal even if they relied on the Transcendence Elixir to increase their battle strength by 10 times. There was still a big gap between the immortal peak and the true immortal realm. Under such circumstances, they still had to rely on Lin Tian's power of faith to defeat a true immortal. With my current cultivation, combined with enough power of faith and in transcendence elixir, I can kill the three of them without relying on the self-destruction of my true immortal artifact. However, I've almost used up all the power of faith before. Now, there is not much power of faith left in the pagoda for the time being. I can't use the transcendence elixir to increase my battle strength. Lin Tiandao. Hearing his words, Whooshing Crocodile immediately tensed up. It can't be right. It looked at Lin Tian and asked again, then without enough power of faith, with your strong physique and current cultivation, can you block 3 true immortals with only 1 transcendence elixir? I can block 1 true immortal, but it's difficult to block 3. Because these 3 are about to reach the middle stage of true immortal. They are many times stronger than the 5 true immortals we met before. Lin Tiandao. At the later stages of cultivation, the difference in battle strength between the major realms was too great. When he was at the middle stage of eternal immortal, he relied on the transcendence elixir, a huge amount of power of faith, and the self-destruction of a true immortal artifact to kill 5 early-stage true immortals. Now his cultivation had reached the eternal peak, but he did not have enough power of faith. It was really difficult to block 3 powerful existences who were about to reach the middle stage of true immortal with only 1 transcendence elixir. Isn't that the end? Whooshing Crocodile stared. No. Lin Tian looked very calm. Maybe it's over in other places, but here, there's no need to worry. Huh? Whooshing Crocodile was stunned when it heard this. Do you have any other means? On a branch of the Tree of Life, little Taichu also looked at Lin Tian curiously. Something like that. Lin Tianten smiled. It was also at this time that the roars of the nether spirits in front of them weakened. The 3 true immortals of the Manwei dynasty stepped forward and slaughtered more than half of the nether spirits in this place in the blink of an eye. The aura of true immortals was turbulent, causing the void to become turbulent. In the blink of an eye, the 3 of them came to about 6 feet away from the Tree of Life. Buzz! The space trembled, and the array patterns lit up one after another, emitting a shocking killing intent. Endless killing light filled the air. These were the dozens of killing arrays that Lin Tian had engraved before he started cultivating. They were to prevent the nether spirits in this place from rushing in and disturbing their cultivation. At this time, the 3 true immortals of the Manwei dynasty approached and touched the dozens of killing arrays engraved by Lin Tian, directly causing the dozens of killing arrays to explode, and the killing light pressed down together. There are killing arrays? This seems to be an eternal level killing array. Many cultivators' expressions changed. Someone looked at Lin Tian. These killing arrays were engraved by him? He's in the eternal state? He looks so young, and he's not an antique living fossil, but he's already reached the eternal state? Everyone was shocked. Boom! The dozens of killing arrays were boiling, and the killing light filled the sky. Each killing light was fierce and terrifying, as if it could cut through everything. All the killing light pressed down on the 3 true immortals of the Manwei dynasty. The 3 old men snorted. One of them directly slapped out and instantly shattered the killing light that filled the sky. Then, a wave of true immortal chi rushed out of his body and directly shattered the dozens of killing arrays engraved by Lin Tian. The eternal level killing arrays were destroyed in an instant. So strong. The true immortals are simply... Many cultivators were shocked again. These people could feel the horror of the dozens of killing arrays just now. No one was confident that they could withstand it. As long as they were enveloped by it, they would be blasted into nothingness. But now, the 3 true immortals of the Manwei dynasty wiped out the dozens of killing arrays so easily. Their divine power was really terrifying and awe-inspiring. However, the shock of these cultivators only lasted for a moment. After all, as a matter of fact, it was easy for a true immortal expert to destroy the killing arrays engraved by an eternal state cultivator. The 3 true immortals of Wanwei dynasty stepped forward, looking at the super tree of life. Their eyes shone with a strange light. Obviously, this super tree of life was very amazing. For experts of their level, it could be said to be a treasure. Although it couldn't directly increase their cultivation base, it could help them condense their immortal Tao to a more powerful state. Humph! Among the three, the sixth true ancestor snorted. His eyes fell on Lin Tian, and he directly raised his hand to grab Lin Tian. For a moment, the void shook violently with a rumbling sound, as if it would completely collapse in the next moment. This was just a simple physical strength without the slightest trace of divine power, but its power was somewhat frightening. That's terrifying. That man and his two little friends are finished. Even the corpse of a true immortal can't withstand it. Nonsense. Not to mention whether he can use the corpse of a true immortal. He doesn't even have the chance to take it out now. Many cultivators shook their heads. Everyone thought that Lin Tianyi and his companions would definitely die if a real true immortal expert attacked. Why did he have to provoke the Manwei dynasty? Someone sighed. With a rumbling sound, the sixth true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty reached out his hand and arrived above Lin Tian in the blink of an eye. I won't kill you immediately. After taking back all the star stones, I'll let you suffer a good deal of torture first. The man said coldly. 3 true immortals and true ancestors had died in a single day. In truth, this man and the other true immortals and true ancestors of this lineage were just like Overlord Myriad Might and the others. They had been suppressing their anger all this time, and they wanted to vent it as well. And the channel to vent their anger was naturally Lin Tian. Even if their cultivation was much stronger than Lin Tian's, they still wanted to torture Lin Tianyi. Or perhaps, even if they didn't torture Lin Tian themselves, they could still relieve some of the anger in their hearts by watching others in the dynasty torture Lin Tian. Lin Tian's expression didn't change at all when he saw the man's big hand pressing down on him. Yin Zhongwang deserved to die. He asked for it. You want to take back the star stones? Impossible. You want to torture me? Don't even think about it. His voice was very calm. Standing on the spot, he directly met the man's big hand pressing down on him with a punch. He actually met the palm of a true immortal expert with pure fist strength. Chapter 15:14. The fact that an eternal realm cultivator met the palm of a genuine immortal with his bare hands shocked all the cultivators in the underground world. They thought that Lin Tian's behavior was too stupid. How could he block the palm? Stupid. The genuine immortal of the Manwei dynasty said coldly. His palm continued to press down, causing the void to distort. Lin Tian's expression was calm. This simple punch contained all of his current physical strength as he continued to punch forward. In the blink of an eye, the palm and the fist collided head-on. Bang! With a muffled sound, the sixth true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty trembled violently. Then he was sent flying thousands of feet away like an iron cannonball. He crashed into the small river formed by corpse water. Sixth brother! The fourth and fifth true ancestors of the Manwei dynasty were shocked. The sixth true ancestor of their lineage was also a genuine immortal like them. Now, in a head-on confrontation, he was sent flying by an eternal realm cultivator. At the same time, the other cultivators in the area were also shocked. He sent the sixth true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty flying with one punch? That's a genuine, immortal expert. How is that possible? All the cultivators were shocked. Many people thought that Lin Tian would be suppressed by the sixth true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty. Unexpectedly, the result was completely opposite. The sixth true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty failed to suppress Lin Tian. Instead, he was sent flying thousands of feet away by Lin Tianyi's punch. This caused these cultivators to suddenly feel as if they had fallen into an illusion. This was simply too shocking. How can his physical body be so strong? Does he have the Barbarian King body? No, even the Barbarian King body can't be so strong. Many cultivators were shocked. Beside the Tree of Life, Whooshing Crocodile and Little Taichu's eyes lit up. Just the strength of his physical body alone is enough to contend against a true, immortal powerhouse. He actually sent a true, immortal flying. Although Whooshing Crocodile had long guessed that Lin Tian's body was now comparable to that of a true immortal, he still couldn't help but be surprised when he saw Lin Tianyi send the sixth true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty flying with his fist. So powerful. Little Taichu made a childish sound and blinked its big eyes. It's nothing. After all, I used all of my physical strength while the other party didn't use all of his physical strength. Lin Tiandao. His opponent's palm was also very powerful, but at the very most he had only used 70% of his physical strength. As for his punch, he had used his full strength. As such, with his current physical strength, it was naturally easy for him to send his opponent flying. Boom! Thousands of feet away, the sixth true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty stepped out of the corpse river. He crossed thousands of feet in one step and reappeared outside the Tree of Life. His whole body was soaked by the corpse water in the corpse river, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. He stared at Lin Tian in shock and anger. He was a true immortal expert, but he had been sent flying thousands of feet away by Lin Tian, an eternal realm cultivator. Moreover, he had been sent flying in front of so many cultivators. His face turned ugly, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. Facing the man's murderous gaze, Lin Tian's expression didn't change at all. He still stood there motionless. "Stay away, it stinks," he said, looking at the sixth true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty with a rather disgusted expression. "It stinks?" Whooshing Crocodile nodded. "It stinks?" Little Taichu nodded at Little Milk Bag and chimed in with a childish voice. Outside, many cultivators saw Lin Tian's disdain for the sixth true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty and saw Whooshing Crocodile and Little Taichu chiming in. For a moment, they couldn't help but stare. This group of people dared to treat a genuine immortal with such an attitude. However, many cultivators had to admit that the sixth true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty really didn't smell good at this time, because his whole body was soaked by the stinky corpse water. The sixth true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty's eyes became even colder. They were extremely livid, and murderous intent surged in his eyes. With a boom, divine power rushed out of his body, directly evaporating his wet clothes and forcing out all the corpse water in the corpse river. Then, he took a step forward and directly pressed down on Lin Tian. "There's no need to suppress. I'll kill you directly," he said coldly. As he took a step forward, his genuine immortal chi immediately spread out, as if it was going to burst the underground world. In the next moment, he reached out his big hand again and grabbed at Lin Tian. This time, it was different from before. Wisps of genuine immortal divine light were entwined around his palm. Clearly, it was no longer pure physical strength, but genuine immortal divine power this time. For a moment, many cultivators in the area couldn't help but tremble. In the face of this genuine immortal divine power, they all retreated, afraid that they would be accidentally affected by this genuine immortal divine power. If they were affected by this genuine immortal divine power, they would definitely end up miserable. Sixth true ancestor, pay attention to the celestial stone on him. Don't break it. Also, take his genuine immortal weapon, reminded the fourth true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty. "I know." The sixth true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty arrived. His big hand continued to press down, and the divine power on it became more terrifying than before. "Die!" He looked at Lin Tian, his eyes cold and merciless. Wherever his big hand passed, the void shattered inch by inch, and then collapsed inch by inch. The scene was a little frightening. "You want to kill me with this blow? You're dreaming." Lin Tian was very calm. Facing the big hand that pressed down on him, he could feel the terror of this big hand, but his expression didn't change at all. His right leg shook slightly on the surface of the ground. An endless dragon pattern spread out, causing the underground world to shake in an instant. Then, in the next moment, a black fog rushed out of the black hole of death not far away. The dense death chi quickly passed through and directly met the big hand of the sixth true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty. Immediately after, there was a sizzling sound as the divine power outside the giant hand of the Wanwei dynasty's sixth true ancestor was completely annihilated. Then, the pitch-black mist of death enveloped his entire body. In an instant, the man's face changed color. He felt the terror of this death mist on the spot and quickly retreated. Unfortunately, although he retreated very quickly, he was still a little too late. In the next instant, the pitch-black mist of death wrapped around the arm he had stretched out. Puff! Blood splattered, and the sixth true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty let out a muffled groan. The arm that was covered by the death mist was instantly corroded into a bloody mist by the death mist. It was a shocking sight. Such a scene shocked everyone in this place, except for Lin Tian. What a terrifying death chi! It corroded a true immortal. Many people's hearts trembled. Then, some people looked in the direction that the death mist rushed out from and saw the black hole in the distance. For a moment, they couldn't help but tremble, and their faces turned pale. That black hole, why does it feel like hell? It's terrifying. Just now, the deathly mist rushed out from the black hole. Could it be that the black hole is filled with deathly mist? Everyone's heart palpitated. They just glanced at the black hole, and they felt that their divine souls were about to collapse. It was too scary. Then, these people looked at Lin Tian and couldn't help but be shocked. He can control the death chi in the black hole? How did he do it? These people were shocked. Judging from the scene just now, it was clear that Lin Tian pulled out the terrifying death chi from the black hole on his own. Even the whooshing crocodile and the little taichu were shocked at this time. You can mobilize the death chi in there? The whooshing crocodile was shocked. Have you forgotten that I know the dragon burial scripture? In some special places, it's easy to borrow some external forces. Lin Tian on Dao. As soon as these words came out, the whooshing crocodile suddenly understood, and there was a ray of light in its eyes. It's true. Lord Crocodile actually forgot about this. The dragon burial scripture could control the momentum of heaven and earth. In many special places, it could borrow the momentum of heaven and earth to fight. This place was extraordinary and could be considered a kind of momentum of heaven and earth. After Lin Tian used the dragon burial scripture, he could indeed use the vast death chi in the black hole of death. No wonder you said that you didn't have enough faith power and could only rely on the ascension elixir to block a genuine immortal. But your expression was so calm. It turns out that you have long thought of using the vast death chi in the black hole of death to fight. It clicked its tongue. Lin Tian's expression was calm, and he said with a faint smile, "Didn't I say that it might be troublesome in other places? But in this place, I don't need to care about them at all. With the power of the dragon burial scripture to control the black hole of death in this place, he didn't need to worry at all even if 30 genuine immortals came, let alone 3. With the death chi in the black hole of death in this place, he wouldn't be afraid even if it was a peak genuine immortal. This was the terrifying part of the dragon burial scripture. In some special terrains, with the help of special terrains, even if it was 1 or 2 realms higher, it could still be done. I'll give you a warning. Leave here obediently, and I won't make things difficult for you now. If you still want to stay and try to kill me and my companions, then don't blame me for being ruthless and burying all of you in this place." He looked at the 3 genuine immortal experts of the Manwë dynasty and said. His voice was very calm, and it wasn't loud at all, but it made all the cultivators in this place change their expressions again. He actually said this to 3 genuine immortal experts? This is simply, although Lin Tian had just sent the 6th true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty flying with a punch, and although Lin Tian had used the death chi to corrode the arm of the 6th true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty, these cultivators still didn't think that Lin Tian could really block a genuine immortal. After all, a genuine immortal was very terrifying and had many means, especially the immortal Dao Law. That was a very frightening power, and it wasn't something that an Eternal Realm cultivator could block because an Eternal Realm cultivator had only mastered the Great Dao. Chapter 15:15. Everyone was stunned when they heard Lin Tian's words. An Eternal Realm cultivator actually issued a warning to 3 true immortal experts. This was the first time they had ever encountered such a thing. The three true immortals of the Manwë dynasty looked cold. The sixth true ancestor, who had been blown away by Lin Tianyi's punch and had one of his arms corroded by Lin Tian's black hole, was so angry that he laughed. How dare an Eternal Realm ant speak so arrogantly? An Eternal Realm expert is an ant? Then your Manwë dynasty really has a lot of ants. Is your bloodline a place full of ants? Lin Tian said calmly. The sixth true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty suddenly stopped talking, and his face turned a little pale. He had wanted to mock Lin Tian, but Lin Tian's words turned his words back to the Manwë dynasty. In the Manwë dynasty, except for the true ancestors and the Wanwei overlord, everyone else was at or below the Eternal Realm. Therefore, in terms of his Eternal Realm ant, the Manwë dynasty was really a place full of ants. You have a sharp tongue. The man's voice was bone-chilling. He took a step toward Lin Tian, divine energy rolling around his body. He directly used a true immortal's great divine ability. I'll kill you. Together, let's end this quickly. Another voice sounded. The fourth and fifth true ancestors of the Wanwei dynasty who had come to this place attacked together. They were three true immortal experts, so how could they retreat because of the threat of an eternal cultivator? Although Lin Tian's death force was shocking, they did not care. They had genuine immortal divine abilities and immortal Dao laws. Moreover, there were three genuine immortals working together. How could such a lineup be unable to defeat an Eternal Realm cultivator? Crush him. The fourth true ancestor of this bloodline said coldly. Like the sixth true ancestor, he showed no mercy and directly used a true immortal's divine ability. At the same time, this bloodline's fifth true ancestor condensed a beast phantom to suppress Lin Tian. This was also a true immortal secret technique. In the blink of an eye, three waves of true immortal divine power surged out, distorting the void and directly crushing the nearby Ain spirits. Such a scene shocked many of the cultivators in the area. They all retreated, afraid that they would be affected by this immortal-level killing light. After all, this was the light of a true, immortal-level divine ability. Ordinary cultivators would definitely not be able to withstand it. Boom! An intense rumble resounded through this space. The divine might of three true immortals pressed down on Lin Tian at the same time. It was truly frightening. It seems that you all are truly courting death. Lin Tian was very calm. He stood where he was. He had already set up a dragon burial formation underground with the dragon marks. It completely covered the space within a radius of 1,000 feet, and the center was the black hole of death not far away. At this moment, facing the pressure of the three true immortals, the dragon mark on the soles of his feet moved and immediately drew out the vast power of death from the black hole of death. It spread out from the great dragon burial formation that was arranged underground and then surged up mightily. In an instant, the pitch-black mist of death surged and directly covered this space. Its corrosive power was shockingly strong. Whoosh! 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 With a series of soft sounds, the true immortal divine ability of the three true immortals of the Manwë dynasty was immediately crushed. Moreover, the vast and mighty power of death that surged out did not disappear. It continued to press down on the three true immortals. The cultivators trembled in unison. They were all shocked by this death mist. The true immortal divine ability of the three true immortal powerhouses was crushed in an instant. Ow! How did he draw out such a terrifying death mist? Some cultivators looked at Lin Tian with shock in their eyes. The three true immortals of the Manwë dynasty were even more shocked. They had just used their true immortal divine abilities at the same time, and they were all very powerful true immortal divine abilities. But in an instant, they were crushed by the death mist drawn out by Lin Tian. Most importantly, the death mist was still pressing down on them. They could clearly feel the horror of that death mist. They did not dare to be too careless in the face of this death mist. At the same time, they shook out an even stronger true immortal divine ability to crush this death mist. Don't think that just because you can borrow some evil power from the evil Tao, you can defeat a true immortal with your Eternal Realm cultivation. It's just a small trick. It's not worth mentioning. The fourth true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty said coldly. As he spoke, divine light surged around his body. Wisps of immortal Tao aura spread out, and the law of immortal Tao gushed out. At the same time, the fifth true ancestor and the sixth true ancestor of this lineage also released their own law of immortal Tao. At this time, they saw how terrifying the death mist drawn out by Lin Tian was. It was very threatening. They wanted to end Lin Tian quickly, take back all the star stones and the super tree of life here. Therefore, they began to release the law of immortal Tao directly. They wanted to kill Lin Tian in the shortest time possible. Immortal. Law of immortal Tao. One of the strongest techniques of a true immortal expert. He was forced to use the law of immortal Tao just like that. Is the mist of death so terrifying? An eternal realm cultivator can force a true immortal expert to release the law of immortal Tao after drawing out that death mist. How can it not be terrifying? It's absolutely terrifying. But since the three true ancestors of the Manwë dynasty have released the law of immortal Tao, that person is finished. Of course, the law of immortal Tao is not something that ordinary forces can compare to. Many people shook their heads. Looking at Lin Tian, they felt that Lin Tian really could not resist now. After all, the power of the law of immortal Tao was very dangerous and overbearing. Boom! Divine energy rolled, and the law of immortal Tao surged. The space was constantly distorted by the tremors, as if it would collapse in the next moment. The three true immortals of the Manwë dynasty looked at Lin Tian and moved. The law of immortal Tao surged and pressed down on Lin Tian. Die! The sixth true ancestor said coldly. His killing intent toward Lin Tian was the strongest. In this moment, in just a flash, this person stepped in front of Lin Tian. The law of immortal Tao coiled around his large hand and turned into a millstone, pressing down on Lin Tian mightily. Lin Tian's expression did not change at all as he watched this person close in on him. Roar! A true dragon roared, and the ground collapsed. A large black dragon rushed out and blocked in front of Lin Tian. It shattered the millstone of the law of immortal Tao that the sixth true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty pressed down on him. Then, it swung its tail and lashed out. This true dragon was completely condensed from the aura of death. It was fast and domineering. With a puff, half of the sixth true ancestor's body was pulverized. Moreover, after half of the person's body was pulverized, the terrifying power of death poured into his flesh and blood through the wound. It began to wildly corrode his muscles and bones, even his soul. Ah! This person could not help but scream. Sixth true ancestor. The fourth and fifth true ancestors of the lineage who were attacking Lin Tian turned pale and could not help but look at the sixth true ancestor. Worry about yourselves. Lin Tian's voice rang out. As soon as he finished speaking, the sonorous sound of swords rang out, and the ground shook again. Accompanied by dense dragon patterns, streaks of black, sword energy rushed out from the ground and shattered the space. They turned into a rain of swords and pressed down on the fourth and fifth true ancestors of the Manwë dynasty. Those sword rays were condensed from extremely vast amounts of death energy that he had gathered with the dragon burial scripture. Every single sword ray could be considered a true sword of death. At this moment, when they charged out together, their power could be said to be extremely astonishing and incomparably terrifying. For a moment, the law of immortal Tao that the fourth and fifth true ancestors of the Manwë dynasty had summoned were directly crushed. Then, the dense black sword energy continued to pass through their bodies and smash them into pieces. In just a short moment, the three true immortals were all injured. At this place, the expression of all the cultivators changed. They originally thought that after the three true immortals of the Manwë dynasty had summoned the law of immortal Tao, even if Lin Tian could draw upon the vast power of death in this place to fight, he would definitely not be able to block it because the law of immortal Tao was extremely terrifying. However, to their surprise, the power of death that Lin Tian had drawn out was even more terrifying than before. It had corroded the law of immortal Tao that the three true immortals of the Manwei dynasty had summoned and instantly shattered the three of them. So terrifying. This the power of death that he has summoned. Could it be that he can kill immortals? An older cultivator said in a trembling voice, and could not help but tremble. Even the whooshing crocodile and little Taichu next to the super tree of life were shocked. Although they had known that the power of death nurtured under the black hole of death was shockingly vast and terrifying, they still could not help but look surprised at how easily Lin Tian had destroyed the three true immortals. How terrifying! The whooshing crocodile widened its eyes. Boom! 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 Divine energy vibrated as the three true immortals of the Manwei dynasty reformed their bodies. They looked at Lin Tian again with flickering eyes. At this moment, they truly understood the power of death that Lin Tian could draw out. It was so vast and powerful that even the law of immortal Tao could not block it. Let's go. The fourth true progenitor of this branch said grimly. The fifth and sixth true progenitors nodded. Although their faces were ashen, they could see that the power of death that Lin Tian had drawn out was far more terrifying than they had expected. Even their law of immortal Tao could not block it. As such, they had no choice but to retreat. If they continued to stay and fight with Lin Tian, who could draw out the vast power of death from this place, the battle would be very disadvantageous for them and could even endanger their lives. We'll let you live for a while longer. If we miss today and today, we'll definitely make you wish you were dead. The sixth true progenitor of this branch said coldly. Chapter 15:16. Sensing that the current situation was very unfavorable to them, the three true immortals and true ancestors of the Manwei dynasty were very decisive. They made a prompt decision and began to retreat into the underground world without any hesitation. Such a scene naturally shocked all the cultivators in this place. The three true immortals and true ancestors of the Manwei dynasty retreated. This three true immortals were all scared away by an eternal realm cultivator. All the cultivators were extremely surprised. In the face of an eternal realm cultivator, the three true immortals chose to retreat. These people's voices were very low, but the three true immortals of the Manwei dynasty were so powerful that they naturally heard it. Their faces immediately turned ugly, and a sense of humiliation rose in them. Even so, they did not stay. Their footsteps did not change at all, and they retreated along the path they came from. However, in the next moment, the deathly mist in all directions surged. Dense dragon patterns led the boundless deathly aura to rush out from the ground. It was extremely terrifying, directly cutting off the three people's path of retreat. I told you to leave at first, but you didn't. Now you want to leave? It's too late. Lin Tiandao. The death chi rolled and was shockingly strong. The temperature of this underground world dropped by dozens of degrees in an instant. The three true immortals of the Manwei dynasty's face darkened when their retreat was cut off. You want to trap us? Trap you? You think too much. Lin Tiandao said, I want you to die here. The true immortal of the Manwei dynasty's face turned cold. The sixth true ancestor said coldly, Don't be so arrogant. Boom! Tyrannical divine power vibrated, and the death chi rolled and surged violently, directly interrupting the sixth true immortal. Lin Tiandao moved. He took a step forward, and the dragon patterns on the soles of his feet spread. In an instant, more death mist was summoned from the ground. He formed a dragon seal with both hands at the same time, and three death dragons of about 1,000 feet long appeared, attacking the three true immortals together. Suddenly, the space trembled. The aura of the three death dragons was terrifying. Everywhere they passed, the air was corroded. The three genuine immortals of the Manwei dynasty were all shocked. At this time, the aura of death from the three dragons was undoubtedly more terrifying than the aura of death that Lin Tian had just drawn out. The fluctuations made their hearts tremble. Without any hesitation, the three of them unleashed their immortal Tao laws at the same time to meet the three death dragons head-on. Then, they used mysterious footwork to move in three different directions, dodging the attacks of the 3 death dragons by a hair's breadth. Schwa! The sound of something breaking through the air rang out. Lin Tian's figure appeared directly in front of the 6th true ancestor. The 6th true ancestor's expression shifted as he was startled by Lin Tian's sudden appearance. Yu Clang! An ear-piercing, sword hum reverberated. Lin Tian raised his hand, and densely packed dragon tattoos intertwined in his right hand. He drew out an even more vast aura of death from the black hole of death at the heart of the great dragon burial formation, directly condensing it into a sword of death. He mercilessly swung it down at this person. Ah! The 6th true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty had no time to dodge or defend. He was directly smashed into pieces by the sword. The blood of a genuine immortal spilled in the air. It was a ghastly sight. Damn it! The 6th true ancestor roared. His divine soul was not destroyed. He wrapped his broken flesh and retreated, trying to reassemble his physical body in the distance. There's no need to retreat. Lin Tian did not give this person a chance to retreat. With him as the center, dense black dragon swords rushed out from the ground. Each of them was formed by a vast aura of death and complex dragon tattoos. They were terrifyingly powerful and completely sealed the 6th true ancestor's divine soul. In the blink of an eye, the 6th true ancestor's divine soul was directly pierced through by the dense black dragon swords. He screamed again. Disappear! Lin Tian's voice rang out once more. The great sword of death in his hand had yet to disappear. He had infused a strand of his own nameless Tao law into it, and he slashed down at this person's already shattered soul once more. With a puff, the 6th true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty screamed in despair, fear, and unwillingness. His broken divine soul was shattered by the sword of death and completely disappeared from the world. Suddenly, everyone in this place turned pale. The 6th true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty he died just like that. Everyone was shocked. The 6th true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty was a powerful existence who was about to reach the mid-stage of the genuine immortal realm. He was almost invincible in the starry sky, but now, in this place, he was killed. Moreover, he was killed by an eternal realm cultivator. Someone looked at Lin Tian and could not help but feel a chill down his spine. It was too terrifying. He killed an immortal with the cultivation of the eternal realm. At the same time, next to the super tree of life, Whooshing Crocodile and Little Taichu could not help but be shocked. He killed a true immortal so quickly. The death aura under that black hole is really scary. Whooshing Crocodile clicked his tongue. He knew very well that Lin Tian had been able to slay the 6th true progenitor of the Wanwei dynasty so easily and quickly because the presence of death beneath the black hole was too vast and too terrifying. Even a peak true immortal wouldn't be able to withstand it. After all, it was the death aura condensed by at least 1 million cultivators after they died. It was very terrifying. On the other side, the other 2 true immortals of the Manwei dynasty looked a little ugly. They were both shocked and angry. Damn it! How dare you kill him? The 4th true ancestor roared at Lin Tian. Not long ago, his Manwei dynasty had just lost 3 true immortals, which was a heavy loss. Now, he had lost another true immortal in this place. This made him very angry. What a joke! The 3 of you want to kill me, and I don't dare to kill you? Is there something wrong with your head? Lin Tian looked at the man's mockery and paused. He seemed to think of something and said, speaking of which, not long ago, your dynasty lost 9 elders of the eternal realm and 3 true ancestors of the true immortal realm, right? What? The Manwei dynasty lost 9 elders of the eternal realm and 3 true ancestors of the true immortal realm? I've never heard of such a thing. The cultivators were shocked. No one had heard or seen the death of 9 elders of the eternal realm and 3 true ancestors of the Manwei dynasty. Even the 4th true ancestor and the 5th true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty were shocked. How did you know? They knew about the death of the 9 elders of the eternal realm and the three true ancestors of the true immortal realm through the shattering of the soul lamps of life in the dynasty. Only some big shots in the dynasty knew about it. How could Lin Tianyi, an outsider, know about it? How would I know? Lin Tian looked at the two and smiled faintly. Because I killed them all. As soon as these words were spoken, the cultivators in this place were all shocked, and each of them revealed an expression of horror. After killing Yin Zhongwang of the Manwei dynasty, Lin Tian had killed 9 elders of the Eternal Realm and 3 true ancestors of the Manwei dynasty. This was not the first time that Lin Tian had killed a true immortal with his Eternal Realm cultivation. Before this, he had already killed 3 true immortal experts. You did it. The 4th true ancestor and the 5th true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty could not help but tremble. Their expressions became even more furious. Not long ago, the Manwei dynasty lost 9 elders of the Eternal Realm and 3 true ancestors of the true immortal realm in one day. Was it Lin Tian who did this? It was me. Lin Tian looked at the two with a faint smile on his face. His voice was calm. What do you think? Are you surprised? Such an expression and such words made the 4th and 5th true ancestors of the Manwei dynasty so angry that they almost exploded. Damn you! How dare you! The two of them roared. At this moment, they did not doubt Lin Tian's words at all. For one thing, the deaths of the 9 elders of the Eternal Realm and 3 true immortals of the Manwei dynasty were only known to the higher-ups of their bloodline. But Lin Tian, an outsider, knew about it, which was obviously not normal. For another thing, they did not doubt that Lin Tian could kill the 3 true immortals with his Eternal Realm cultivation. If Lin Tian could kill the 6th true ancestor of their bloodline in this place, then it was not impossible that he could have killed the 3 true immortals in other places with special means. Ah! The two of them roared, glaring at Lin Tian with angry eyes. Both of them displayed violent means and rushed toward Lin Tian. For a moment, the true immortal secret skills and immortal Tao laws rumbled at the same time. The killing power was terrifying to the extreme. In the blink of an eye, the two of them rushed to Lin Tian. Because of their extreme anger, they forgot that Lin Tian could summon a very terrifying aura of death in this place and was not afraid of their divine skills and immortal Tao. Lin Tian looked at the two of them and smiled slightly. He made a dragon seal with his left hand. Dragon roar, 10,000 dragons kill. He smiled faintly. As the words left his mouth, the ground began to tremble. No less than 10,000 dragons rushed out from the ground, each of them at least 100 zhang long. Each of them exuded an extremely dense aura of death. It was truly the might of 10,000 dragons surging forward. In an instant, the divine skills and immortal Tao of the 4th and 5th true ancestors of the Manwei dynasty were all crushed. Then, the 10,000 dragons rushed over with terrifying momentum and smashed the two of them into pieces. 2 plumes of blood sprayed in the void. Such a scene caused all the cultivators in the area to tremble in fear. Even the whooshing crocodile and little Taichu next to the super tree of life could not help but tremble at this scene. The dragon burial scripture is really terrifying. The whooshing crocodile trembled. At this time, it and little Taichu temporarily stopped comprehending and cultivating and watched Lin Tian fight seriously. Damn it! Damn it! Chapter 15-17. After all, the 4th and 5th true ancestors of the Manwei dynasty were both true immortals, and they were more powerful than the 6th true ancestor. They would not die so easily. Their divine souls wrapped around their broken flesh and blood, and in the blink of an eye, they reformed their physical bodies. They stared at Lin Tian. At this time, they were extremely shocked and angry, and at the same time, a sense of fear rose in them. The death aura that Lin Tian had drawn from this place was too terrifying. As true immortals, they were completely powerless against it. Lin Tian looked at the two and did not say anything. He simply stepped forward. Under his feet, the death aura gathered into a black dragon. He stepped on the dragon's head and pressed on toward the two. The fourth and fifth true ancestors of the Manwë dynasty growled, and each took out a precious weapon. They were a bronze cauldron and a seal, respectively. Both were true immortal weapons, exuding a strong, true, immortal aura. Together with the law of immortality, they launched a fierce attack. However, the attack was not aimed at Lin Tian. Instead, it struck the barrier condensed from the aura of death that sealed off their path of retreat. For a moment, there was a rumbling sound. Two powerful divine powers surged toward the death aura that sealed them outside. The attack power was very fierce. However, it was useless, because this death aura was condensed by Lin Tian using the dragon burial formation and the massive amount of death aura in this place's black hole. Even a peak true immortal could not break it. Clang! The ear-piercing sound of the sword reverberated. Lin Tian condensed a huge sword of death with a massive amount of death aura and slashed toward the fourth and fifth true ancestors of the Manwë dynasty. The sharp sword light directly cut a large part of the void in this place. The fourth and fifth true ancestors of the Manwë dynasty stopped attacking the death aura in this place. Their divine power surged and met Lin Tian's sharp sword light head-on, blocking it. However, at this time, a dragon's roar rang out. Lin Tian stepped on the Black Death dragon and approached. The dragon's head was frighteningly huge, and it directly crashed into the two. Puff! Pooh! The fourth and fifth true ancestors of the Manwë dynasty were smashed into pieces by the Dragon of Death. Their respective true, immortal weapons were sent flying and landed on the ground in the distance, creating two huge craters. Ah! The two of them roared as their soul force surged and reformed their bodies. Don't waste your energy. Just die here. Lin Tian's voice was calm. Dense dragon patterns wrapped around his body, and he directly activated the dragon burial formation engraved in this place. Roar! With another roar, the ground glowed, and a vast aura of death roiled. One dragon after another rushed out of the ground, just like the 10,000 dragons kill, but this time, it was many times stronger. It directly enveloped the fourth true ancestor and the sixth true ancestor of the Wanwei dynasty. The souls of the two true immortals from the Wanwei dynasty trembled as they sensed the terror of this attack. They roared in terror and unleashed a shocking amount of soul energy and even more powerful laws of immortal Tao from their soul bodies in an attempt to break through the dense mass of dragons. Unfortunately, it was useless. At this time, the dragon burial formation activated by Lin Tian used the vast death aura in this place as the source of power. Its killing power was so strong that even a golden immortal might not be able to resist it, let alone the two true ancestors of the Manwë dynasty, who were in the early stage of the true immortal realm and had their bodies shattered and were seriously injured. Die! Lin Tian's voice was calm. The dragon burial formation was completely boiling, and the tens of thousands of dragons let out a deafening roar. Ah! A miserable shriek rang out, and in the next moment, it disappeared completely. Under the complete explosion of the dragon burial array, the fifth true ancestor of the Wanwei Empire was the first to be crushed, his body and soul destroyed. The fourth true ancestor of this lineage trembled and struggled in the dragon burial formation, but he could not resist the killing power of the dragon burial formation. His soul body was constantly being shattered. Damn it! Damn it! You won't have it easy. You'll die. At this moment, the fifth true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty knew that he was going to die. His expression became ferocious, and he roared fiercely. Part of his soul body was burned, and he used some kind of special technique to forcibly shoot out a beam of divine light. He shot out of the dragon burial formation and disappeared from this underground space in an instant. Then his soul body became countless times fainter. Son of a bitch! You won't live for long. You'll die soon. The Manwë dynasty is not something you can provoke. The fifth true ancestor roared savagely, and then in the next moment, he screamed again. His weak soul body was crushed by the terrifying dragon burial formation and shattered, his body and soul destroyed. Seeing this, the other cultivators in the area trembled for a moment. Dead, they're all dead. These people trembled, and some even took a step back involuntarily. The fourth, fifth, and sixth true ancestors of the Manwë dynasty had come together to kill. Each of them was a powerful true immortal, and almost no one in the universe could stand up to them. But now, they had all been killed in this place. Killed by an eternal realm cultivator. These people looked at Lin Tian and could not help but tremble. They felt a chill rising in their organs. This person was simply too terrifying, too ferocious. In the distance, Wuxing Crocodile and Little Taichu were also surprised. Very erotic and violent. Wuxing Crocodile clicked its tongue. However, compared to the other cultivators in the area, it and Little Taichu were surprised that Lin Tian had killed the fourth, fifth, and sixth true ancestors of the Manwë dynasty so quickly. At the same time, they also remembered the divine light that the fourth true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty had shot out before he died. It frowned slightly. In front of them, Lin Tian calmed the dragon burial formation and looked in the direction of the divine light that the fourth true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty had sent out when he burned a wisp of his soul body. A faint light flashed in his eyes. However, this did not last long. The next moment, he withdrew his gaze and looked in another direction. There were two treasure weapons on the ground. They were the true immortal weapons of the Wanwei dynasty's fourth true ancestor and fifth true ancestor. He waved his hand and grabbed the weapons, erased the two true immortal weapons' spiritual imprints, and put them into his body. The true immortal weapons of the two sects were still very valuable. Then he stepped forward and walked back to the super tree of life. By the way, kid, what was the divine light that the fourth true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty shot out just now? Wuxing Crocodile asked, a little concerned. I guess he was telling something about me to a stronger person in this lineage at the last moment before he died. Lin Tiandao. This was not difficult to guess, and he did not care too much about it. He looked at Wuxing Crocodile and Little Taichu and said, You and the little guy continue to cultivate. I will protect you. Protect us? Wuxing Crocodile was a little curious. You don't want to cultivate with us? At this time, it could sense that Lin Tiandao was still at the eternal peak. He did not gain anything in this place. Now that he had killed the fourth, fifth, and sixth true ancestors of the Manwë dynasty, he should be cultivating with them. However, Lin Tiandao asked them to protect him. Obviously, he would not cultivate in this place, which made it a little curious. Are you worried that the cultivators outside will suddenly snatch the tree of life and interfere with our cultivation? It looked at the cultivators outside and said, It won't be that bad. With your current cultivation, you have engraved more than a dozen killing formations outside. Not many people below the true, immortal realm can break through. You don't need to worry about this. That's not the problem. Lin Tiandao shook his head and said, Don't worry about me. You and the little guy cultivate first. I'll protect you. When you finish cultivating, I'll tell you more. Now, it would be meaningless for him to continue cultivating in this place. Because the nameless Tao in his body rejected the immortal Tao from entering his body, he could not condense immortal core power. He had to think about how to successfully condense immortal core power in his body. Otherwise, it would be difficult for his cultivation to improve in the future. Wuxing Crocodile and Little Taichu both looked at him suspiciously. They were even more curious about his words. However, they also knew that Lin Tiandao had his own considerations and ideas, so they did not ask much for the time being. Then the little guy and I will cultivate first. You can tell us in detail later. Wuxing Crocodile said. At this moment, it and Little Taichu each operated their ancient scriptures and continued to use the power of the super tree of life in this place to comprehend the immortal Tao that existed between heaven and earth. For a moment, the super tree of life swayed and scattered an extremely vigorous aura of life towards the two. Then, one could vaguely feel that the Tao outside their bodies had become rich and vigorous in an instant. Lin Tiandao looked at Wuxing Crocodile and Little Taichu cultivating. He sat down silently beside the tree of life and looked at the surrounding cultivators. Facing Lin Tiandao's gaze, these cultivators could not help but tremble. Many of them could not help but take a step back. They really felt that Lin Tiandao was a bit terrifying. Just now, he had killed 3 true immortals of the Manwei dynasty by himself. That kind of power was right in front of them, and these ordinary cultivators were all afraid. Seeing these cultivators' reactions, Lin Tiandao naturally knew that they were afraid of him, but he did not care. While guarding Wuxing Crocodile and Little Taichu, he silently thought about how he should cultivate next. In the central region of the Myriad Domains Imperial Planet, in the 100,000 Immortal Mountains where the Manwei dynasty was established. At this moment, with a whoosh, a divine light rushed over from the distance and disappeared into the depths of this vein in the blink of an eye. Then, in the next moment, 3 terrifying divine energies directly came from the depths of the Manwei dynasty, mixed with terrifying killing intent, true immortal aura, and immortal Dao laws. Damn it! You must die. No matter what special methods you have, you will die without a burial place. A roar resounded through the sky. Soul Death Valley, underground world. Lin Tiandao stood guard beside the super tree of life, guarding Wuxing Crocodile and Little Taichu. At the same time, he quietly thought about how he should condense his immortal core power. Just like this, a full 7 days passed in the blink of an eye. Boom! Boom! Chapter 15:18. The aura of a genuine immortal and the law of immortal Tao intertwined. Although it was very weak, the power it contained was very shocking. Beside the super tree of life, the divine light outside Wuxing Crocodile and Little Taichu's body skyrocketed. Their essence, qi, and spirit were much stronger than 7 days ago. Half-step genuine immortal. Lin Tian looked at the two, and a glimmer of light flashed across his eyes. After 7 days, with the help of the power of the super tree of life, Wuxing Crocodile and Little Taichu had both stepped into the half-step genuine immortal realm from the eternal peak. At the same time, in this underground world, the group of cultivators was still surrounding this place, looking at Lin Tianyi and the others. At this time, they naturally noticed that Wuxing Crocodile and Little Taichu had reached the half-step genuine immortal realm. Their eyes could not help but flicker. After all, half-step genuine immortals were absolute giants in the starry sky. Few people could resist them. Awesome! Beside the super tree of life, Wuxing Crocodile let out a howl of excitement as usual. Outside his body, Tao light surged, mixed with strands of immortal Tao fluctuation. Moreover, it was the fluctuation of the 5 elements immortal Tao. Among the many immortal Tao laws, it was one of the most advanced immortal Taos. Its immortal Tao power was extraordinary. On the other side, Little Taichu's body was also surrounded by faint Tao light, mixed with the immortal Tao aura. It was the radiant immortal Tao. This immortal Tao was much more powerful than the 5 elements immortal Tao. It could transform all the laws in the world. It was a sacred immortal Tao. Whether it was an attack or defense, it had amazing abilities. Not bad. Lin Tian looked at Wuxing Crocodile and Little Taichu and nodded with a smile. He could clearly feel that compared to 7 days ago, the two had improved qualitatively in every aspect. Whoosh! The tree of life swayed. At this time, it had dimmed a little, but its life aura was still amazing. What a great treasure! Wuxing Crocodile clicked its tongue. In 7 days, it and the Little Taichu had relied on the tree of life to cultivate. They had successfully condensed a strand of celestial core power and stepped into the half-step true immortal realm. However, they had not used up too much of the tree of life's power. Its life force was still boundless. Lin Tian nodded. The value of this tree of life was indeed astonishing. Even for a true immortal, it was a precious treasure. Kid, now it's your turn to cultivate and comprehend the Tao. The little guy and I will protect you. Wuxing Crocodile versus Lin Tiandao. No. Lin Tian shook his head. There's a problem with my cultivation for the time being. If I cultivate now, it won't be effective. Hearing his words, Wuxing Crocodile suddenly looked suspicious. Something wrong with his cultivation? What is it? It asked, its expression becoming more solemn. Beside him, Little Taichu also looked at Lin Tian. Lin Tian glanced at the group of cultivators who were still watching the Tree of Life from the periphery and said, "I'll talk to you somewhere else." As he spoke, he propped up his origin small world. The spiritual light inside was dense, and it directly sucked the super Tree of Life in this place into it. At this time, this super Tree of Life still had a very shocking divine power of life. It was still very useful to them, so naturally they had to take it away. Roar! The fierce roar was ear-piercing. In this underground world, the dense soldiers were not all destroyed. They had been guarding outside the super Tree of Life. At this time, when they saw Lin Tian put away the super Tree of Life, they felt that the rich life force that was both tempting and dangerous to them had disappeared. Immediately, they all rushed toward Lin Tian crazily with ferocious expressions. Lin Tian raised his hand, and a sword ray flew out, directly slashing a large number of soldiers into pieces. Although many of these soldiers were comparable to Emperor Realm evil spirits, they were very weak in front of him. "Let's go." He did not care about the other cultivators here. He called out to Whooshing Crocodile and Little Taichu and rose up into the sky above. Not long after, they rose to an extremely high place. Above their heads, a new layer of soil appeared. Clang! Lin Tian made his move. His sword hummed as it swung upward. This sword ray was very sharp. As it rushed upward, it shattered the layer of soil that was hundreds of feet thick. Then, a faint light sprinkled down from above, directly connecting the underground world and the ghost Death Valley at the top. Then he, Whooshing Crocodile, and Little Taichu continued to go up. Through this hole, they directly stepped out of the underground world. In the underground world, a group of cultivators looked in the direction that Lin Tian and the others left. Many of them looked up for a long time. Gone. They took that super Tree of Life with them. Some people whispered with pity and regret. In fact, that super Tree of Life was too extraordinary. It was called the Immortal Tree of Life and the Tao Tree of Life. Ordinary cultivators, even if they only got a branch, it would be very useful. But now, it was taken away by Lin Tian. They could not get anything, and they did not dare to fight for it. After all, Lin Tian was not an ordinary cultivator. He had even killed several immortal true ancestors of the Manwei dynasty. Who would dare to fight with such a fierce person for treasures? It was purely suicidal, including what he said himself. He killed 3 true immortals of the Manwei dynasty before. In addition, he killed the 4th, 5th, and 6th true ancestors of the Manwei dynasty in this place. He alone killed 6 true ancestors of the Manwei dynasty. In addition, he killed Yin Zhongwang and the 9 elders of the Eternal Realm. More than half of the upper class of the Manwei dynasty were killed by him. It's hard to imagine that he could kill true immortals with the cultivation of the Eternal Realm. What a terrifying man! The Manwei dynasty dominated the starry sky. But this time, they encountered a jinx. 6 true immortals and true ancestors, 1 half-step true immortal, and 9 Eternal Realm experts were killed by the same person in such a short time. It's really bad luck, isn't it? However, I reckon that the Wanwei dynasty will be thoroughly enraged this time. It is said that the founder of this lineage is still alive, existing in the legendary Immortal Domain, and is still connected to this lineage. It seems that this lineage can summon part of the founder's power from the Immortal Domain with a special method, and ordinary golden immortals can't resist it. Is that true? I'm not sure. I just heard that, but I think it's 90% likely to be true. Many cultivators were shocked. Suddenly, an ear-piercing roar resounded through the underground space. At this time, there were still many nether spirits in this underground space. Seeing that Lin Tian had taken away the Tree of Life and Lin Tian had left, these nether spirits became even more ferocious. They stared at the cultivators in this underground space and madly and ferociously pounced on them. The surging nether chi was appalling. The cultivators trembled in shock. Then they each attacked. Divine light surged and slashed at the dense nether spirits. Lin Tian, Whooshing Crocodile, and Little Taichu left the underground world. At this time, they were walking in the Ghost Death Valley. They were getting closer and closer to the center of the Ghost Death Valley. Boy, you can tell us now. What is the problem with your cultivation that you mentioned before? Whooshing Crocodile looked at Lin Tian and asked. Little Taichu also looked at Lin Tian. The nameless Tao law in my body rejects the immortal Tao. Lin Tian briefly explained that the nameless Tao law in his body rejected the immortal Tao and could not condense celestial essence. Whooshing Crocodile's eyes widened when it heard this. Even the immortal Tao rejects it? What kind of Tao is that? It's too overbearing. It was shocked. Previously, Lin Tian could not refine the connate Tao source that could temper Tao laws. After entering the Nirvana realm, he could not control more great Taos like other Nirvana realm cultivators because the nameless Tao law in his body rejected it. It was as if the connate Tao source and ordinary great Taos were impurities. Now, it did not expect that the nameless Tao law would reject even the immortal Tao. The Tao in your body thinks that the immortal Tao is impurities? That's ridiculous. Could it be the eternal divine Tao that is above the divine Tao? It stared at Lin Tian. But that can't be. Legend has it that there are 3 types of eternal divine Tao: time, space, life, and death. No matter how I look at it, the Tao in your body has nothing to do with these 3 types of power. The great Tao could only be truly controlled by cultivators when they entered the great virtue realm. The immortal Tao could only be truly controlled by cultivators when they entered the perfected immortal realm. The divine Tao could only be truly controlled by cultivators when they entered the true immortal realm. As for the more powerful eternal divine Tao, it had nothing to do with one's cultivation level. It could only be comprehended by truly exceptional talent and a peerless bloodline. To put it simply, the great Tao could only be truly controlled by cultivators when they entered the great virtue realm. The immortal Tao could only be truly controlled by cultivators when they entered the perfected immortal realm. The divine Tao could only be truly controlled by cultivators when they entered the true immortal realm. As for the eternal divine Tao that was above the divine Tao, it was different from the great Tao, the immortal Tao, and the divine Tao. Such a Tao was not limited by one's cultivation level. As long as one had sufficient talent and a strong enough bloodline, one could comprehend and control the eternal divine Tao at any time. Whooshing Crocodile did not doubt Lin Tian's talent at all. Lin Tian's talent was absolutely astonishing, and it would not doubt the power of Lin Tian's bloodline either. After all, he had the most powerful reincarnation imperial physique, and the power of his bloodline was definitely top-notch. If it was Lin Tian, it was definitely possible for him to control the eternal divine Tao. However, the 3 eternal divine Taos, whether it was time, space, or life and death, their characteristics were too obvious. As long as they were displayed, they would definitely be discovered at the first moment. However, Lin Tian's nameless Tao law was a blur. Apart from its boundless vastness, it could not sense anything else. Therefore, it could be 100% sure that Lin Tian's Tao was definitely not the eternal divine Tao. In this way, what kind of Tao was Lin Tian's Tao that it could not figure out the source of? How could it be so domineering that it even rejected the immortal Tao and was subconsciously regarded as an impurity? Although this Tao of yours is powerful, it's simply troublesome. It was shocked and speechless. Now, the nameless Tao law rejected the immortal Tao. Lin Tian could not condense celestial core power in his body. If he could not condense celestial core power, he could not brand the origin Tao seal of the immortal Tao in his body. This meant that he could not enter the perfected immortal realm, or even enter the half-step perfected immortal realm. This was indeed a huge problem. Extremely troublesome. Chapter 15:19. Lin Tian felt a little helpless about the nameless Tao law in his body. Although it was very powerful, it was now rejecting the immortal Tao, causing him to be unable to brand the immortal Tao's origin Tao seal in his body and condense immortal core power. As a result, he could not step into the true immortal realm. Even stepping into the half-step true immortal realm would be a big problem. Then, how should you cultivate from now on? Whooshing Crocodile asked. I'm not sure for now. I'll think about it slowly. I'm sure I'll be able to think of a way. Lin Tian on Dao. He didn't believe that he wouldn't be able to solve this problem after comprehending the nameless great Tao in his body, which was so powerful. After saying that, he stopped thinking about the nameless Tao law in his body for the time being and called the Whooshing Crocodile and the little Taichu to the center of the Ghost Death Valley. According to the records on the sheepskin map, the small colorful circle that might be the sword's soul fragment was located in the center of the Ghost Death Valley. He had to confirm it. If it was really the sword's soul fragment, it would be great news for him because the sword's soul fragment was too important to him. Then, the man and the two beasts walked towards the center of the Ghost Death Valley. The valley covered a vast area, and the border could not be seen. As the man and the two beasts got closer to the center, the Yin-Chi in the air became thicker and the temperature became lower and lower. Whoosh! The sound of something breaking through the air rang out. In front of them, a powerful yiksha pounced on a dark hill. Its face was ferocious, and its intertwined aura was comparable to a peak Emperor Realm cultivator. Lin Tian flicked his finger, and a sword light flew out and directly cut the flying yiksha into pieces. With his current cultivation, it was too easy to deal with an Emperor Realm yiksha. Just like what he did, he could kill it with a flick of his finger. This was just a small interlude, and it did not affect the man and the two beasts' footsteps. They stepped forward and continued to go deeper. After that, as they got closer to the depths of the Ghost Death Valley, more evil ghosts rushed out. Some were rotting corpses, some were zombie beasts, and even other strange evil spirits. They were all very unusual, and the strongest was even comparable to an Eternal Realm expert. However, this was nothing to the man and the two beasts. All the evil spirits that pounced on them were easily killed. In the blink of an eye, an entire hour passed. An hour later, the man and the two beasts had traveled even further. Along the way, they had killed even more evil spirits. Finally, they had reached the center of the Ghost Death Valley. At a glance, there were 3 small mountains in the middle of the Ghost Death Valley. All of them were pitch black, and they sat on the ground in a triangular formation. Within them, a fist-sized 7-colored light source quietly floated in the air, emitting a faint 7-colored light. It really is that kind of rainbow light source. Whooshing Crocodile was shocked. Lin Tian's eyes flashed. He had guessed that the rainbow circle mark on the sheepskin map was most likely the sword's soul fragment. Unexpectedly, it was indeed so. Wait for me here, he said to Whooshing Crocodile and little Taichu. As he spoke, he directly walked forward. Soon he arrived at the 3 small pitch-black mountains. When he arrived at this place, he saw some footprints on the ground. The footprints were of the same size and should belong to the same person. Then, he vaguely guessed that they were left by the person who engraved the sheepskin map. At that time, although that person had found this place and found the sword's soul fragment, he could not take it away. This was because ordinary people could not control the sword's soul fragment. They had to have the sword's soul fragment itself. Therefore, after that, in his free time, that person engraved the location of the sword's soul fragment into a sheepskin map. Then, it was obtained by Snow Wolf. Then, it coincidentally fell into his hands. This is really fate, Lin Tian muttered to himself. With that in mind, he walked straight into the 3 pitch-black hills. The moment he entered the small mountains, the rainbow divine sword at the bottom of his sea of consciousness suddenly vibrated slightly. At the same time, as if it had sensed the appearance of the sword's soul fragment, the fist-sized sword's soul fragment in front of him also vibrated. It emitted circles of rainbow divine light and rippled toward Lin Tian. Lin Tian's eyes were bright. Without hesitation, he stepped forward and arrived in front of the sword's soul fragment in the blink of an eye. Buzz! The fist-sized sword's soul fragment vibrated slightly. The intertwining rainbow divine light became brighter and more dazzling. It immediately moved on its own and slowly rotated around him as if it had a consciousness of its own. Then, in the next moment, the sword's soul fragment vibrated slightly again, and with a whoosh, it disappeared into Lin Tian's body. After entering Lin Tian's body, as usual, It arrived in front of the rainbow divine sword at the bottom of Lin Tian's sea of consciousness in an instant. It vibrated slightly and directly disappeared into the sword's soul fragment. Immediately, the seven-colored god's sword shuddered as an even denser seven-colored god's sword radiated out. Moreover, a portion of the seven-colored god's sword radiated out from the bottom of Lin Tian's sea of consciousness like before, surging towards every corner of his body. This was a gift from the sword soul fragment that was found after finding the sword soul fragment. Lin Tian knew the value of this rainbow divine light. Without any hesitation, he immediately activated the Sun Heart Sutra and refined this rainbow divine light with ease to strengthen his flesh and divine soul. In an instant, his essence, energy, and spirit began to rise. In the blink of an eye, a full 4 hours passed. 4 hours later, he had completely refined the seven-colored radiance that the new sword's soul fragment had bestowed upon him after fusing with the divine sword. His essence, vitality, and spirit had become even more vigorous, and his physique had become even more powerful. His battle prowess was much greater than 4 hours ago. He took a deep breath and adjusted his essence, energy, and spirit. Then, he used his divine thought to scan the divine sword in his sea of consciousness. At this time, the divine sword had already quieted down. The dim divine inscriptions on the surface of the sword lit up even more, and the aura it emitted was even more vast. It vaguely seemed to contain everything, but also seemed to be able to suppress and cut through everything. Looking at this sword, he felt as if he was looking at a vast expanse of heaven and earth. Its aura was extremely shocking. After a pause, he mobilized all of his divine thought and tried to communicate with this divine sword. The divine sword was very quiet and did not move. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths, after a full 10 breaths, as he channeled all of his divine thought to communicate, the rainbow divine sword that had quieted down at the bottom of his sea of consciousness suddenly vibrated again. This scene immediately made Lin Tian happy. At this time, if he wanted, he felt that he could directly summon the rainbow divine sword from his sea of consciousness. This was something worth being pleasantly surprised about. Of course, he could also vaguely feel that there were 2 reasons why he could communicate with the rainbow divine sword at this time. Firstly, it was because he had gathered more and more sword soul fragments. Secondly, and most importantly, it was because a new sword soul fragment had just fused with the rainbow divine sword. It was equivalent to the rainbow divine sword being awakened from its slumber. At this time, it was easier to communicate with and summon it. As time passed, the heat of the new sword soul fragment fusing with the rainbow divine sword would gradually dissipate. At that time, it would be very difficult for him to communicate with the rainbow divine sword again. The most important thing is to collect more sword soul fragments. The more I collect, the higher the chance of successfully communicating with it. He muttered to himself. Then he took a deep breath and paused in place for a moment. Then he walked out of the range of the 3 pitch-black hills and returned to the whooshing crocodile and the little taichu. "Let's go. We can leave now," he said to the whooshing crocodile and the little taichu. His main purpose of coming to this ghost death valley was to see if the rainbow small circle on the sheepskin map was a sword soul fragment. Then, the result was as he expected. It was indeed a sword soul fragment. Now that the sword soul fragment had been successfully obtained, there was naturally no need for them to stay in this place. "Go, go, go," the whooshing crocodile said. The rainbow sword soul fragment was unusual. However, it had seen Lin Tian obtain such things many times. Gradually, it was not as surprised as it was at the beginning. It was already used to it. Then, 1 man and 2 beasts stepped out of the ghost death valley. Their speed was much faster than when they walked to this place. In the blink of an eye, more than half a quarter of an hour had passed. They walked far away from the center of the ghost death valley and were not far from the edge of the ghost death valley. "Boy, find a quiet place and think about how you should cultivate next," the whooshing crocodile said. "I know." Lin Tian nodded. The nameless Tao law in his body rejected the immortal Tao. He could not brand the origin Tao seal of the immortal Tao into his body. Therefore, he could not condense celestial core power and advance on the path of cultivation. This was a big problem that had to be solved as soon as possible. Then he quickened his pace and continued to step out of the ghost Death Valley with the whooshing crocodile and the little Taichu. Clang! Suddenly, the sound of a sword was ear-piercing. A clanging sword light fell from the sky, mixed with a strong, perfected, immortal aura. Lin Tian's spiritual sense was extraordinary. The whooshing crocodile and the little Taichu were not weak either. They all moved dozens of feet away to avoid the sword light. In the next moment, the ground trembled with a boom. The falling sword light cut a huge gully in the ground. Which bastard is courting death? The whooshing crocodile shouted and looked in the direction of the sword light. At the same time, Lin Tian also raised his head and looked in the direction where the sword light had come from. He saw 3 figures walking over from that direction. They were 3 old men, and all of them had extremely powerful spirits. Their bodies were naturally surrounded by the aura of true immortals. Manwei Dynasty. Looking at the 3 old men, Lin Tian's eyes immediately narrowed slightly. The aura around these 3 people was too similar to the perfected immortals of the Manwei Dynasty that he killed. They all cultivated the same ancient scriptures. There was no other possibility except that they were from the Manwei Dynasty. The whooshing crocodile and the little Taichu beside him could naturally see that these 3 people were perfected immortal experts of the Manwei Dynasty. You killed a half-step perfected immortal, 9 eternal elders, and 6 perfected immortals and true ancestors of the Manwei Dynasty in succession. You must be tired of living. You should be killed 10,000 times. Exterminate 9 generations of your family. The 3 old men were the first true ancestor, second true ancestor, and the third true ancestor of the Manwei Dynasty. They were the 3 most powerful perfected immortals of this lineage. They were infinitely close to the middle stage of perfected immortality. After that, the first true ancestor, who was the leader of the 3, spoke. He looked at Lin Tian with piercing eyes, like 2 ice swords. Chapter 15:20. Lin Tian looked at the first, second, and third true ancestors of the Manwei Dynasty. Naturally, he could guess how the 3 of them knew that he was the one who had killed the 9 eternal elders and the other 6 genuine immortals and true ancestors of this bloodline. That was because he had seen the 4th true ancestor of this bloodline shoot out a beam of divine light before he died. It must have contained this information. However, he didn't care about this at all. Even if the 3 true immortals charging at him were far more powerful than the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th true ancestors from this branch. Are you here to kill me? He asked knowingly. Do you think we're here to chat with you? Cold light intertwined in their eyes, and their killing intent was boundless. This kind of killing intent was so frightening that it seemed to freeze the space, and the earth was trembling slightly. Whooshing crocodile and little Taichu could not help but tremble. Even though they had reached the level of half-step true immortality, they still felt a chill down their spines in the face of the bone-chilling killing intent of the 3 experts who were infinitely close to the middle stage of true immortality. After all, although they were half-step true immortals, they had only condensed a beam of celestial core power, which was far inferior to a genuine immortal. Lin Tian could naturally feel the horror of this killing intent, which made his flesh and bones ache at this moment. However, his expression did not change, and there was no trace of fear. On the contrary, there was a trace of a mocking smile on his face. Since you know that I've killed the 6 genuine immortals of your bloodline, why are you still rushing over like this? Aren't you afraid that you'll die at my hands like those 6 people? He said. The expressions of the first, second, and third true ancestors of the Manwei Dynasty became even colder. They looked at Lin Tian like 3 frightening knives, ready to cut Lin Tian into 1,000 pieces. Little bastard, you killed 6 of our genuine immortals. Do you think we don't know that you have a special evil way? Do you think that your evil way can really do anything to the Manwei Dynasty? Said the first true ancestor coldly. As he spoke, the second and third true ancestors beside him retreated. A flash array rushed out from their bodies. This square formation was circular in shape, and all kinds of strange patterns were interwoven on it. It hovered directly above his head, and it was surrounded by strands of divine light. In the next moment, the first true ancestor of this branch took action. He took out a small jade bottle and poured out one cultivator's soul after another. Altogether, there were more than 1,000 of them. These thousands of divine souls had extraordinary soul energy, but their expressions were all mechanical and numb. It was obvious that their consciousness had been scattered. The first true progenitor of this branch waved his hand and sent the 1,000 souls into the formation diagram above his head. In an instant, the formation shone brightly. It was extremely dazzling. An extremely terrifying power was slowly awakening. This is a sacrificial array. Whooshing Crocodile was moved. Lin Tian could naturally tell that this was a sacrificial ritual. At the same time, he could feel the terrifying power surging out from the array. He couldn't help but narrow his eyes slightly. Boom! The formation diagram above the first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty absorbed more than 1,000 cultivators' divine souls. All kinds of patterns intertwined, and the divine power surging out became more and more terrifying. In this space, there were continuous violent roars that seemed to shatter one's divine soul. This space couldn't help but tremble because of this power. The void all around was distorted inch by inch. Then, in the next moment, more light shone on the formation diagram. An even stronger power surged, turning into strands of Tao light that went straight into the body of the first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty. This caused the aura of the first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty to rise rapidly in the blink of an eye. Around him, the space emitted cracking sounds. Then it directly collapsed. Turbulent flows of space poured out. However, they were instantly crushed by the vast power outside this person's body. Even chaotic light interweaved with each other. Buzz! The formation diagram surged, and its aura grew stronger. The light it emitted became even more dazzling. Then, in the next moment, the entire formation diagram was wrapped in endless divine light and directly entered the body of the first true ancestor. This caused the aura of this person to soar again in an instant, like a volcano erupting. The terrifying fluctuations were so strong that the ground under his feet could no longer bear it. Large cracks spread out in all directions like a spider web. With this place as the center, all living creatures within a radius of 10,000 feet became trembling with fear, as if the end of the world was coming. Little bastard, do you see? This is the power of the founder of my sect in the immortal domain. It was drawn by the divine souls of more than 1,000 cultivators of the great path of the Manwei dynasty. The first true ancestor said, looking down at Lin Tian like an ancient emperor. His eyes were cold and indifferent, high and mighty. At this moment, the fluctuations of divine power outside his body had reached an extremely terrifying level, causing the sky to tremble. It seemed that in the next moment, it would collapse and crumble. You used the divine souls of more than 1,000 cultivators of the great path of the Manwei dynasty to draw this kind of power? Very good. It would be even better if you sacrificed the souls of all your disciples to trigger the power. I'll give you 180 likes. Lin Tiandao. Using the souls of his own disciples as a sacrifice to guide the power, such a thing was really ironic. The first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty did not quite understand what Lin Tian meant by, I give you 180 likes. But he could hear the sarcasm in Lin Tian's words. He knew that Lin Tian was mocking him for sacrificing his own disciples in exchange for the power of the founder of the immortal domain. His face immediately became even colder. Originally, the main point of his words was the strength of the founding ancestor of his sect that resided in the celestial region. However, Lin Tian had directly ignored this matter, and his ears were only filled with the fact that Lin Tian had slaughtered over 1,000 disciples of his sect in exchange for strength. Little bastard. His voice was bone-chilling. With a boom, the divine power outside his body skyrocketed again. The terrifying pressure seemed to be about to shatter the world. When such a fluctuation appeared, the entire Nether Death Valley seemed to be about to collapse. The ground collapsed inch by inch. Boy Lin, this situation is not good. Whooshing Crocodile's expression really changed. At this time, the aura of the first true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty was too terrifying. It had far exceeded the standard of a true immortal and was definitely comparable to a golden immortal. Even little Alpha Primordium couldn't help but shudder at the thought of this. There's nothing wrong. Lin Tian could naturally feel the terror of the first true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty at this time. The power of Ancestor Wanwei was really terrifying, but his expression was still very calm. There's nothing wrong with this. This is already comparable to a golden immortal. I think it's even comparable to a mid-level golden immortal. Even if we have the Transcendence Divine Pill, there's no way we can resist it. In fact, even if we are still in that underground world, you might not be able to withstand the boundless death energy there. Whooshing Crocodile's eyes widened. Little Taichu could not help but look at Lin Tian. He also widened his eyes and looked very surprised. It was very cute. There's nothing great about it. Lin Tian on Dao. This made Whooshing Crocodile and Little Taichu even more confused. In the face of the first true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty, Lin Tian was still so calm. At the same time, across from them, the first true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty stared coldly at Lin Tian, his gaze as sharp as a sword. Behind him, not far away, the second and third true ancestors sneered and looked at Lin Tian with disdain. There's nothing great about it. The second true ancestor sneered. Are you scared silly by the power we borrowed from our ancestors? This is already comparable to a mid-level golden immortal. How dare you say there's nothing great about it? There's no need to waste words with him. Just suppress him and destroy his cultivation. Take the Starlight Stone and all the treasures he has. Then, hang his corpse outside of my dynasty. Let the world see what happens to those who offend my dynasty. The third and first true ancestors of the dynasty said. The first true ancestor's eyes were still cold. Hearing this, he moved. He took a step forward, and the whole ground collapsed. Wherever his body passed, space would crumble and shatter. At the same time, he was so fast that he appeared in front of Lin Tian in an instant. He grabbed at Lin Tian's arm with his dragon claw, which was intertwined with the amazing power of the precepts. I won't kill you so easily. I'll destroy one of your arms first. But, clang, the ear-piercing sound of a sword rang out, cutting off the man's words. A peerless sword power suddenly spread out from Lin Tian's body. With a puff, blood splattered. The first true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty was immediately sent flying. His body was so badly damaged that even his bones and internal organs could be seen in many places. He rolled into a mountain in the distance and smashed it into pieces, sending smoke and dust into the sky. Great ancestor! The second and third true ancestors of the Manwë dynasty turned pale. They were the strongest true immortals of the Manwë dynasty. Now, the first true ancestor had sacrificed the souls of more than 1,000 disciples to attract a part of the power of Ancestor Wanwei in the immortal realm. In terms of combat strength, they were comparable to mid-level golden immortals. But now, when they attacked Lin Tian, they were sent flying. They were all shocked. They looked in the direction where the first true ancestor was sent flying, and then looked at Lin Tian. Then, they trembled violently. That's... At this moment, a divine sword appeared beside Lin Tian. It was intertwined with strands of 7-colored divine light. The body of the sword was engraved with all kinds of mysterious divine runes. Even with the cultivation of true immortals, they could not see anything clearly. They could only feel an extremely terrifying wave contained in the divine sword, as if it could cut the entire sky into pieces. Chapter 15:21. Seeing Lin Tian summon the rainbow divine sword, Whooshing Crocodile was really shocked. You summon it on your own? It stared with wide eyes. This divine sword was really too amazing. It just happened to integrate with a group of sword soul fragments. Now, I can barely summon it for a short time. Lin Tian Dao. Whooshing Crocodile was slightly stunned, and then thought of something. That kind of colorful light source is the sword's sole fragment of this divine sword? Little Taichu heard this, and also looked at Lin Tian curiously. They were not stupid. From Lin Tian's words, they immediately guessed what the mysterious colorful light source was. Yes, Lin Tiandao. The divine sword was his biggest secret, but he naturally had nothing to hide from Whooshing Crocodile and Little Taichu. This surprised Whooshing Crocodile and Little Taichu again. That is actually the sword's sole fragment of this divine sword. That is to say, this divine sword is still incomplete? Whooshing Crocodile stared. Lin Tian nodded and said, "It is indeed incomplete. So I've been looking for the sword's sole fragment all this time." The five elements crocodile's eyes widened even more. An incomplete divine sword could actually have such power? That's terrifying. It took a deep breath, then looked at the first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty who was sent flying, and said, "No wonder you didn't care when you saw the old man summoning the power of Ancestor Wanwei. It turns out that he can summon this divine sword on his own. You should have said so earlier. You made Sir Crocodile and the little guy afraid for a while. Didn't I say from the beginning? It's just a borrowed power. It's not a big deal." Lin Tiandao. The rainbow divine sword hovered around him. At this time, he could control the entire divine sword with his mind. The entire divine sword seemed to be able to split heaven and earth. The intertwined aura and pressure were frighteningly strong. The second and third true ancestors of the Manwei dynasty looked at this divine sword. Their eyes could not help but twitch violently, and their bodies could not help but tremble. This sword caused them too much pressure. Boom! In the distance, rolling divine power rushed up and collapsed a large area of space. The first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty rushed up. His broken body recovered in the blink of an eye, and he stared coldly at Lin Tian, shocked and angry. He knew that Lin Tian had special means. Otherwise, he would not have been able to kill the 6 true immortals of the Manwei dynasty. Therefore, he directly summoned the power of the first true ancestor. He did not want to test Lin Tian with his own strength first. He was worried that if Lin Tian's special means were too strong, he would not be able to withstand it and would be killed in an instant. However, he did not expect that the combat power of the first true ancestor that he summoned to charge at Lin Tian would be comparable to a mid-stage golden immortal. He thought that with this kind of power, he would be able to suppress Lin Tian in the blink of an eye. However, in the blink of an eye, he was sent flying by Lin Tian and suffered serious injuries. Looking at Lin Tian, he gritted his teeth. Then he saw the rainbow divine sword next to Lin Tian and sensed that he was sent flying by this divine sword. He also clearly sensed that this divine sword was very terrifying. "Little bastard, you have a lot of special means. In addition to being able to use evil methods to mobilize evil forces, you also have such a powerful magic weapon." He looked at Lin Tian with a strong, murderous intent in his eyes. Previously, the fourth true ancestor of this lineage had shot out a divine light before he died. In it, there was a scene of Lin Tian mobilizing the death aura in the sky. He knew this from it. He did not expect that in addition to that special means, Lin Tian also had such a terrifying divine sword. "Great ancestor, can you deal with it?" asked the second true ancestor of this lineage. He was really shocked by Lin Tian's divine sword. The power of the sword was too strong. Next to him, the third true ancestor of this lineage also looked at the first true ancestor. The first true ancestor's eyes were cold. "I was careless just now. I didn't expect this little bastard to have such a powerful divine sword. If I get serious, killing him will be a piece of cake." As he spoke, the divine power outside his body vibrated. Instantly, the ground and space in this place began to tremble. An aura that was even more terrifying than before surged out, completely locking down the space in all directions as if it wanted to grind everything into pieces. The eyes of the second and third true ancestors of this lineage lit up. They were originally shocked by Lin Tian's divine sword, but now, seeing the first true ancestors' even stronger divine power fluctuations, their eyes turned cold again as they looked at Lin Tian. "Suppress him as soon as possible. Torture him well, said the second true ancestor. The first true ancestor nodded, the aura outside his body still rising. His gaze fell on Lin Tian. In addition to the bone-chilling coldness, there was also a trace of heat and greed in his eyes. With your strength, you can't unleash the full power of this sword. I'll take it for you. With that, he stepped forward, one step at a time, toward Lin Tian. With each step, the earth trembled and trembled. The domineering aura seemed to want to shatter everything in the surroundings. You're right. With my current cultivation base, I can't unleash the full power of this sword. I can't even unleash a drop of its power. As this person walked over, Lin Tian's expression remained calm as he sensed the divine power fluctuations around this person that were even more terrifying than before. However, it's enough to deal with you. The first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty snorted. You talk big. As soon as he said that, his speed changed. Wherever he passed, the void collapsed. The power comparable to a mid-stage golden immortal crashed down on Lin Tian like a vast ocean. Lin Tian smiled and grabbed the rainbow divine sword beside him. His movement was extremely simple as he casually slashed it down. Clang! The sound of swords rang out as a ray of seven-colored sword light flew by. With a swoosh, it completely annihilated the Wanwei dynasty's first true immortal's vast divine energy. Then, the sword light flew past diagonally, shattering 17 towering mountains in the distance. Such a scene made the whooshing crocodile and the little Taichu tremble. They couldn't help but widen their eyes. A casual slash can have such power. It's simply, the whooshing crocodile gasped. Even the first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty trembled violently. His expression changed immediately. Looking at Lin Tian and the rainbow divine sword in Lin Tian's hand, he couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. At the same time, the second and third true forefathers of the distant branch shuddered as well. The might of this sword strike struck fear into their hearts. It was too terrifying. Lin Tian wielded the rainbow divine sword, and a faint rainbow light naturally revolved around his body, making him look like an invincible sword god that looked down upon the world. You want to kill me? You want to take my sword? Now let's have a good talk. He looked at the man and said. With that, he took a step forward, raised the rainbow divine sword in his hand, and slashed down at the first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty. Although it was an extremely simple slash, its power was extremely terrifying. It immediately split the sky. The first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty roared. He summoned a powerful force from the immortal realm and used the core, great theurgy of the Manwei dynasty. A huge divine shadow of a ferocious beast was formed. It was hundreds of feet tall and faced the sword head-on. This divine shadow of a ferocious beast was extremely terrifying. It let out a violent roar, shattering the vast space. Its aura was terrifying. However, when it collided head-on with Lin Tian's sword, this divine shadow of a ferocious beast was pitifully fragile. It shattered into pieces in the blink of an eye. Moreover, after the divine shadow of the ferocious beast was shattered, the slash of the sword did not stop. It continued to fly and landed on the first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty. Immediately, with a poof, the first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty exploded into a cloud of blood mist. The man's body exploded, but his divine soul was not destroyed. He let out a deafening roar and reformed his physical body in the blink of an eye. Lin Tian looked at the man with an indifferent expression. He calmly stepped forward and slashed his sword again. With a clang, the sword hummed, and the sharp sword light closed in on the first true ancestor in the blink of an eye. You poof! The sword light was so powerful and terrifying that it shattered the first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty before he could react. Great ancestor! How is this possible? The second and third true ancestors of the Manwei dynasty trembled. They were the most powerful people of their bloodline on this ancient planet. They had sacrificed more than 1,000 divine souls to draw a part of the power of the founder of their sect. They were already comparable to mid-stage golden immortals. But now, in front of Lin Tian's divine sword, they were so weak, and they were seriously injured several times in a row. How terrifying! Whooshing Crocodile and Little Taichu were also frightened. On the other side, the powerful and violent divine power surged again. The first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty was still alive. His divine soul surged and reformed his physical body. As expected of the power of your founder, you can really resist. Lin Tian looked at the man and said, the seven-colored divine sword he had summoned was peerless and unparalleled. The first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty was indeed powerful for not dying immediately after taking several blows. Of course, he knew that this was also because his current cultivation was too low. The power of the divine sword that he could summon was too limited. It was not even a drop in the bucket of the full power of the sword. Otherwise, one blow would have been enough to destroy everything. He looked at the first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty and said nothing more. He took a step forward and slashed down with the sword again. The first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty was shocked and angry. He dared not hold back anymore. He used the borrowed power of the founder of Wanwei to summon his strongest law of the immortal Tao. The power of the law of the immortal Tao surged and turned into an unparalleled ocean of Tao. It annihilated all space and met Lin Tian's sword head-on. Whoosh! With a crisp sound, the law of the immortal Tao, unleashed by the first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty, was annihilated in an instant. Impossible? The man was horrified. He used the power of a mid-stage golden immortal to summon his strongest law of the immortal Tao, but it was so easily destroyed by Lin Tian's sword. Nothing is impossible. Lin Tiandao raised his hand and slashed again. The sharp sword light was so fast that it pierced through the vast void in the blink of an eye. It came to the top of the first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty and pressed down mercilessly. The first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty summoned a powerful protective divine ability, but it was a pity that he could not withstand this killing sword. Poof! Chapter 15:22. Blood splattered everywhere as the first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty was slashed to pieces again. It was a shocking scene. Grand Ancestor! In the distance, the second and third true ancestors of the Manwei dynasty could not help but tremble. The strongest person of their lineage on the imperial planet of the Myriad Realms had used a portion of the primogenitor's battle prowess and the most powerful law of immortal Tao. However, in front of Lin Tian, he was so weak that he was slashed to pieces again and again by Lin Tian's divine sword. Blood splattered everywhere. How violent! On the other side, not far behind Lin Tian, Whooshing Crocodile could not help but gulp. Boom! In the distance, the first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty, who had been slashed to pieces, once again reformed his body. His expression was extremely ugly as he looked at Lin Tian with shock and anger. At the same time, there was a hint of fear in his eyes. I don't believe that I will lose to you, he roared. Then, in the next moment, an even more powerful law of immortal Tao surged out and pressed down on Lin Tian. The sky, the void, and the earth all shook as if they were about to be annihilated in the next moment. The attack power was extremely shocking. Lin Tian's expression was calm as he slashed down with his sword. With a whoosh, the sharp sword light shattered all the law of immortal Tao and cut off the first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty's arm. Blood splattered into the void again. The first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty trembled violently as blood flowed from his severed arm. He staggered back in the void. In an instant, his eyes were filled with true fear. Go! Retreat! Go back! He said to the second and third true ancestors behind him, and the two of them fled toward the main Manwei dynasty. At this moment, he realized that even though he had sacrificed the souls of 1,000 cultivators to draw a portion of the primogenitor's battle prowess, and was now very powerful, he could not block Lin Tian's divine sword. This sword was too terrifying. You're already here, and you still want to leave? Lin Tian looked at this person. Naturally, he would not let him go. This was an enemy who wanted to kill him. He raised his hand and shook the divine sword in his hand. Seven-colored divine light instantly shone and completely sealed the space within a radius of 10,000 feet, cutting off all escape routes for the first true ancestor and the other two true ancestors of the Manwei dynasty. The three true ancestors of the Manwei dynasty trembled at the same time. The first true ancestor roared as his divine power surged and condensed into a super divine saber, which was transformed by the laws of the immortal Tao and the power of divine abilities. With the power of a mid-stage golden immortal, he slashed forward in an attempt to cut a path through the space sealed by Lin Tian's rainbow divine sword and then leave this place. However, the sealing power formed by the seven-colored divine sword was too strong. This terrifying slash had no effect at all. This caused the three true ancestors of the Manwei dynasty to tremble again. The first true ancestor looked at Lin Tian in shock and anger. "You clang!" The sound of the sword rang out, piercing through metal and stone. In the blink of an eye, it arrived in front of the first true ancestor and pierced through his chest with a poof. The sharp sword will ran rampant in his body, directly causing his physical body to explode again. Blood mist intertwined in the sky. The first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty roared. His divine soul did not shatter, and he once again reformed his physical body. "Not bad. You're very durable." Lin Tiandao. As he spoke, he stepped forward and slashed down with the divine sword in his hand again. The first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty had just reformed his physical body when it met the sword head-on. With a poof, it was cut into pieces again, and this first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty, who had borrowed the power of the first true ancestor of the first true ancestor, his vitality was shockingly strong at this time. After being cut into pieces this time, he quickly reformed his physical body. "Let's see how many times you can reform." Lin Tiandao. He shook the divine sword in his hand, and the sound of the sword was ear-piercing. Streaks of sharp sword light constantly slashed down at the first true ancestor. In this way, in the next dozens of breaths, the first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty was cut into pieces by Lin Tiandao's divine sword 9 times in a row. His aura gradually began to weaken, and the speed at which his physical body reformed became slower and slower. "This old guy can't hold on for much longer." Whooshing Crocodile clicked his tongue. Little Taichu called out in a childish voice, expressing the same meaning as Whooshing Crocodile. Lin Tiandao held the seven-colored divine sword, like the god of swords walking in the mortal world, and swung his sword at the first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty. In the next dozens of breaths, the first true ancestor was cut into pieces in the void several times. The first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty roared as he was cut into pieces again and again. His aura grew weaker and weaker, and the fear in his eyes grew stronger and stronger. Suddenly, he tilted his head and stared at the second true ancestor and the third true ancestor of this branch not far away. He reached out his hand and grabbed the two of them. "You two come too. Give up your flesh and blood and turn it into pure divine souls to offer to the first true ancestor. With your true, immortal divine souls, you can definitely summon more of the first true ancestor's power." The second true ancestor and the third true ancestor of this branch trembled and showed a look of horror. "Great ancestor, you. If the two of you die and exchange your divine souls for more of the first true ancestor's power, I can kill him directly. This is much better than the three of us dying in this place." The first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty said with a slightly crazed expression. As he spoke, he used his divine power to crush the second true ancestor and the third true ancestor's bodies and erase their divine souls as quickly as possible. Then, he opened the sacrificial formation again and threw the divine souls of the second true ancestor and the third true ancestor of this branch into the formation. This action shocked Lin Tian, the Whooshing Crocodile, and the Little Taichu. "This old thing is really vicious. The second true ancestor and the third true ancestor were his junior brothers, and now he killed them and used them as a sacrifice in exchange for power to save his life. The whooshing crocodile said, "Boom!" As the first true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty sent the divine souls of the second true ancestor and the third true ancestor of this branch into the sacrificial formation, the formation immediately trembled and surged with divine power. It was as if a primordial volcano had erupted, and the fluctuations were terrifying to the extreme. The entire space in this place trembled because of these fluctuations. In the next moment, this vast power, along with the sacrificial formation itself, fused into the first true ancestor's body with a whoosh. In the blink of an eye, the first true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty's divine power skyrocketed and reached a new height in 2 breaths. This power was even more tyrannical than when he had borrowed the divine souls of more than 1,000 great path cultivators at the beginning. The powerful surge of power directly annihilated the nearby void. Good. The first true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty was pleasantly surprised, excited, and frenzied. He looked at his hands and trembled slightly. Naturally, he felt that he was now much more powerful than before. The surging waves, like ripples of water, spread out in circles. This aura is at least 10 times stronger than the power exchanged with the divine souls of more than 1,000 great path cultivators. Whooshing Crocodile was moved. After all, the power was obtained by sacrificing the souls of 2 true immortals. The power of the souls of 2 true immortals cannot be compared to the power of the souls of over 1,000 cultivators of the Grand Tao. Lin Tiandao. Whooshing Crocodile nodded. He naturally knew about this. This old thing's combat strength at this time is probably comparable to that of a peak golden immortal. It seems that the first ancestor of the Manwë dynasty is at least a Xian immortal. Boom! Divine power surged. In front of him, the first true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty's divine power became extremely oppressive. He laughed wildly and was extremely excited. Then he looked at Lin Tiandao again with a ferocious expression. "Little bastard, now that I've borrowed more power from the first ancestor, my pure combat strength is comparable to that of a half-step Xian immortal. You must..." Clang. The sound of the sword was ear-piercing. Lin Tiandao raised his hand and swung the sword. A sharp 7-colored sword light pierced through the vast void, instantly interrupting the first ancestor's words. It came directly in front of the first ancestor, and then it pierced through his chest with a poof. Blood splattered everywhere. The first true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty staggered backward. Looking at his pierced chest and the blood that was constantly spreading from his chest, the ferocious and crazy expression on his face immediately froze. He looked at Lin Tiandao, his voice trembling. At this time, he was comparable to a half-step Xian immortal, but he was still injured by Lin Tiany's sword. Even Whooshing Crocodile and Little Taichu couldn't help but stare. "This is terrifying." Whooshing Crocodile looked at the 7-colored divine sword in Lin Tiandao's hand and took a deep breath. Lin Tiandao held the 7-colored divine sword and looked very calm. At this time, he walked toward the first true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty. Seeing Lin Tiandao walking toward him with the 7-colored divine sword, the first true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty immediately trembled violently and couldn't help but stagger backward again. As he borrowed the power of the ancestor and possessed the combat strength of a half-step Xian immortal, he was still pierced through by Lin Tiany's sword. A deep sense of fear directly rooted in his heart. How could this be? How could this be? I am comparable to a half-step Xian immortal now. How could it be like just now? This is impossible. This is impossible. He looked at the 7-colored divine sword in Lin Tiandao's hand and couldn't stop trembling. So what if you're a half-step Xian immortal? Even if you are comparable to a Xian immortal, you will still die today. Lin Tiandao. No one knew better than him how terrifying the 7-colored divine sword was. Even if his cultivation was not very high now, and he couldn't even exert the sword power of the sword, at this time, with his cultivation of the eternal realm, it was absolutely enough to kill an ordinary Xian immortal. After saying that, he stepped forward, leaving behind afterimages with every step, and the sky was filled with seven-colored divine light. "I'll kill you with one blow," he said. Chapter 15:23. The seven-colored sword radiance was 7 feet long. It flew over and appeared to be somewhat terrifying. A huge crack was cut open in the void. The spatial turbulence together with the chaotic light sprinkled out together with the chaotic light. The first true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty was shocked. He roared in fear and supported all the Tao laws of divine power to meet this sword. For a moment, all the Tao laws of divine power he supported were extremely shocking. It was as if a divine sea was rolling. "Break!" he roared in anger. Lin Tiantan looked at him calmly with a disdainful smile. "You think you can break?" The clanging sound of the sword was very ear-piercing. The 7-foot sword radiance slashed through in an instant. Chi! With a crisp sound, all the divine power that the first true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty used was shattered. The first true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty trembled. How? He was terrified and frantically ran back, trying to avoid this sword. However, this sword was made by Lin Tiantan using all his cultivation and the 7-colored divine sword. Unparalleled sword power gradually spread, completely freezing every inch of space around him. He was shocked to find that he suddenly couldn't move at all. He could only watch as the sharp sword pressed down on him. "No! Stop!" Poof! The 7-foot sword radiance slashed through, creating a large wave of blood. It directly chopped the first true ancestor of the Manwë dynasty into pieces. A mist of blood floated in the air. His physical body disintegrated, and his divine soul was also shattered by this sword. His body was destroyed, and his soul was extinguished. In an instant, this place fell silent. How terrifying! He's invincible. The 5 elements crocodile's eyes widened, and he couldn't help but suck in a cold breath. At the side, little Tai Chu muttered in a childish voice as he trembled slightly. Clearly, he was also very shocked. Lin Tiantan held the 7-colored divine sword in his hand. He glanced at the divine sword in his hand, and then put it away with a thought. Then his body couldn't help but sway. "What's wrong? Are you hurt? I didn't see you hurt just now." Whooshing Crocodile naturally saw Lin Tian. His body shook as he asked with a frown. Lin Tian shook his head and said, "No, it's just that my divine power is almost depleted." The 7-colored divine sword was peerless, but the amount of divine power required to activate such a peerless divine sword was unimaginable. It was like using some peerless divine techniques. At this time, because he had continuously attacked with the rainbow divine sword, and the last sword was even used with all his strength, his divine power had already reached the bottom. Not even 10% was left. "Let's find a quiet place. I need to regulate my breathing," he said. Immediately, he called out to the whooshing crocodile and little Taichu and left the Ghost Death Valley completely. Not long after, he found a very secluded place in a very quiet forest and took out some Baodan that could quickly recover his divine power. After more than an hour, he finished adjusting his breathing. The divine power he had used to use the rainbow divine sword was completely replenished, and he was back to his peak condition. Done. He stood up and walked out of the secluded place with the whooshing crocodile and little Taichu. They walked towards the outside of the forest. This forest was very quiet, but it was not very big. The man and the 2 beasts quickly walked out of the forest. "By the way, kid, the 9 true immortals and true ancestors of the Manwë dynasty are all finished. They have attacked us time and time again. This time, we will take the initiative to rush over and rob this lineage." Whooshing Crocodile's eyes lit up and said, "With the accumulation of this lineage over the countless years, the number of treasures and treasures of heaven and earth stored inside is probably frightening." Lin Tian shook his head and said, "This lineage is not simple. The dynasty probably has a complete golden immortal level killing formation and golden immortal level precious weapons. With our current strength, if we force our way in, we will most likely die. Aren't you able to summon that divine sword by yourself?" You should be able to kill an ordinary Xian immortal, right? What are you afraid of? Whooshing Crocodile was surprised. Lin Tian glanced at it and said, "Do you think I can summon that divine sword by myself at any time? Previously, it was only because I collected more and more divine sword fragments, and because I happened to collect a new divine sword fragment, so I could summon it by myself. After that, the chances of me being able to summon it by myself again are too small. It is as difficult as ascending to the heavens." Whooshing Crocodile could not help but open its mouth, looking a little disappointed. So that's how it is. It had thought that now that Lin Tian could summon that divine sword of 7 colors by himself, he would be able to do whatever he wanted. He would not even have to worry about Xian immortals. However, it did not expect that the chances of Lin Tian being able to summon that divine sword by himself were so small that it was pitiful. "You are so useless." It looked at Lin Tian from the corner of its eyes. A few black lines immediately appeared on Lin Tian's forehead, and he immediately wanted to beat this fellow up. That's right. Whooshing Crocodile suddenly thought of something. It looked at Lin Tian and said, "When you summoned that divine sword just now, it could even kill ordinary Xian immortals. It can definitely break the barrier of the celestial realm. Why didn't you think of cutting open a path to the celestial realm? We can break into the celestial realm. That's a good place." "It's not that simple," Lin Tiandao said. "Pure strength is indeed enough to cut open the barrier of the celestial realm. However, I have not mastered the complete nomological laws of the immortal Tao. I can't even vaguely sense the location of the celestial realm. How can I cut it open?" The celestial realm was higher than the starry sky. It was a large world countless times vaster than the starry sky. However, ordinary people could not sense where the celestial realm was. Only those who had mastered the complete nomological laws of the immortal Tao could vaguely sense the location of the celestial realm. After that, when they had enough strength, they could use the nomological laws of the immortal Tao to sense the location of the celestial realm and tear open the barrier of the celestial realm. Only then could they step into the celestial realm. After he summoned the divine sword, pure strength was completely enough. However, without the nomological laws of the immortal Tao, he could not sense the location of the celestial realm. There was no way he could cut open a path to the celestial realm to enter the celestial realm. "I see. Oh, that seems to be the case." Whooshing Crocodile was slightly taken aback. Then it understood. However, it quickly thought of something and said with some doubt, "Then, speaking of which, the few true immortals and true ancestors of the Manwei dynasty could borrow the power of Ancestor Wanwei to reach the level of a half-step Xian immortal. Moreover, they were true immortals themselves and had mastered the complete nomological laws of the immortal Tao. They should be able to borrow the power of Ancestor Wanwei to open a path to the celestial realm and step into the celestial realm. However, why are they still staying in this starry sky? The spiritual qi in the celestial realm is countless times denser than in the starry sky. It is a holy land for cultivation, and there are many opportunities. It is also because of this that it is said that there are many experts in the celestial realm. True immortals can only be considered as extremely ordinary cultivators and can be seen everywhere. These true immortals are the top giants in the starry sky. They can command the wind and the clouds and dominate the world. However, if they go to the celestial realm, they are nothing. This might be the reason why they are unwilling to go to the celestial realm. Lin Tiandao. Whooshing Crocodile opened its mouth and said, "You mean they would rather be the head of a chicken than the tail of a phoenix?" "You can say that." Lin Tiandao. This was actually very normal. For example, in the 10 Directions Heaven domain, many cultivators from the lower heavens could enter the upper heavens to have a better cultivation environment and more opportunities. However, those people did not enter the upper heavens because a better cultivation environment and more opportunities were often accompanied by crueler competition and challenges. Their status would also be far lower than in the lower heavens. Therefore, many people chose not to go to the upper heavens. The Myriad Realms Imperial Star was very vast. As he spoke, he walked slowly with Whooshing Crocodile and Little Taichu. Suddenly, he felt a chill on his back and a sense of danger appeared. Without time to think, golden divine light surged out of his body, enveloping whooshing crocodile and little Taichu, and instantly teleported more than 1,000 feet away. Whooshing crocodile was puzzled. "Kid, what are you doing all of a sudden?" As it spoke, it suddenly trembled and looked at the place where they were just now. Its pupils could not help but constrict. Little Taichu was also moved. "Not again!" Lin Tiandao ground his teeth. As far as the eye could see, a figure had silently appeared where they were just now. It was an old man with a very old face and deep and cold eyes. He exuded a heart-palpitating aura, like a black hole. It was the black-robed old man they had met on the strange continent in the starry sky. Back then, he had chased them to take the primitive emperor token and immortal emperor pagoda from Lin Tiandao. They had come to the myriad realms imperial star because of this black-robed old man. They did not expect that he would appear again at this time. "Old fool, you didn't get killed last time, and now you're here to court death again." Whooshing crocodile was very afraid of this black-robed old man, but it did not admit defeat. The black-robed old man's eyes were deep and cold, staring at whooshing crocodile like an ice-cold killing blade. Whooshing crocodile could not help but shudder, and it felt like its spirit was about to split open. "Damn, this old fool is stronger than before. This aura is many times stronger than the Wanwei primogenitor's power summoned by the first true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty. At the very least, he's comparable to a complete Xian immortal at this time." It could not help but shudder. "Let's go." Lin Tiandao did not say much. He wrapped whooshing crocodile and little Taichu in golden divine light, and immediately used the duality steps to the limit. Then, with the 5 heaven-shaking thunders art to accelerate, he turned into a human-shaped lightning bolt and directly rushed into the distance. At this time, there was no need to think at all to know that they had no means to contend with this black-robed old man. At the same time, he was also afraid. This black-robed old man was really too terrifying. He could feel that the old man had not recovered to his peak state, probably not even 10% of his strength. But even so, he was comparable to a Xian immortal expert at this time. So, how strong was the old man when he was at his peak state? He was at least a heaven immortal, or even an immortal king. Whoosh! He was extremely fast, and with a burst of sound, he rushed out tens of thousands of feet in the blink of an eye. Chapter 15:24. The big hand blotted out the sky and covered the whole space, as if a big hand formed by the stars was pressing down. Lin Tian stopped abruptly. He couldn't avoid it, so he gritted his teeth and met it with a punch. Boom! He didn't hold back in this punch, directly bombarding it with all his physical strength. He also used the Chaos Emperor's Fist and the 5 heaven-shaking thunder technique, which directly crushed a large part of the void. In the next moment, his fist collided with the big hand that was pressing down on him. Bang! With a violent, muffled sound, a little bit of blood spilled in the air. Lin Tian flew out together with the whooshing crocodile and the little Taichu. His fist was full of cracks, and blood was gurgling out. He gritted his teeth, and without any pause, he took the whooshing crocodile and the little Taichu with the golden divine light and escaped again. Now, although the whooshing crocodile and the little Taichu's cultivation was higher than his, he was still much stronger than the two in terms of combat power and speed. Whoosh! He used the 5 heaven-shaking thunder technique and the yin-yang steps, and his speed was amazing. In the blink of an eye, he had covered a distance of tens of thousands of feet. The objects on both sides flew back, quickly blurring. "Kid, try and see if you can summon that sword again," Whooshing Crocodile said anxiously. Lin Tian shook his head. He had been trying since a long time ago, secretly communicating with the divine sword in his sea of consciousness with his divine sense. However, as he had predicted, it was too difficult for him to communicate with and summon this sword again. It was very difficult for him to do so again. The space was fluctuating, and a chilling aura emerged from behind. The black-robed old man approached again in the blink of an eye. His eyes were deep and cold, and he raised his hand again, grabbing at Lin Tian. Lin Tian didn't have time to dodge. He directly took out the palm-sized primitive emperor's token, held it in his hand, and punched at the old man's big hand. At this time, he hoped that the primitive emperor's token would shine brightly like the last time and repel the black-robed old man. When the black-robed old man saw Lin Tian take out the origin emperor token, a dark light flashed in his deep and indifferent eyes. He exerted a little more force in his outstretched hand, and a dark light appeared, pressing down like a starry sky. In Lin Tian's hand, the primitive emperor token did not glow this time. It was as quiet as an ordinary brick. Bang! Once again, the two collided. More wounds appeared on Lin Tian's arm, and blood rained down like rain. Moreover, a powerful wave of energy rippled through his arm, causing his body to tremble violently. Dense cracks also appeared on his body. Damn it! He gritted his teeth and put away the unresponsive founding emperor token. While using the sun's nirvana art to heal his wounded body, he continued to flee with whooshing crocodile and little Taichu. However, in the next moment, his body trembled. Suddenly, a terrifying force appeared in the surrounding space, sealing all directions. Oh no! His heart sank. Obviously, the black-robed old man had completely sealed all directions of the void with his powerful divine power. Hand over the primitive emperor token and the primordial pagoda, and I'll give you a quick death. With a cold voice, the black-robed old man stepped forward and stared coldly at Lin Tian. You want to kill us even if we hand it over? Then why the hell would we hand it over? We'd rather self-destruct than give it to you. Lin Tian on Dao. At the same time, a true immortal artifact floated out of his body. It was a bronze cauldron, intertwined with a destructive aura. He had obtained it not long ago from the fourth true ancestor of the Manwei dynasty. At this time, he had been preparing for the self-destruction of this true, immortal artifact in his body. At this time, when it reached a critical point, he took it out and directly threw it at the old man. Boom! The bronze cauldron exploded in front of the black-robed old man. The destructive chi wave was horrifying, annihilating all directions of the void. However, Lin Tian's expression changed again. He had used the self-destruction of a true, immortal artifact, hoping that it could barely hurt the black-robed old man and break out of the sealed space to leave. However, at this time, he found that the surrounding space was still sealed. His self-destruction of a true, immortal artifact did not affect the sealed space in the slightest. It was also at this time, with a swoosh, all the destructive chi wave in front of him disappeared and gathered in the middle like a vortex. The black-robed old man crushed it. This, two people and one beast trembled at the same time. The black-robed old man's eyes were cold as he looked at Lin Tian. He raised his hand again, intertwining wisps of dim light, and pressed down on Lin Tian. This time, the withered hand even carried the fluctuation of divine power, truly sealing all things. Lin Tian immediately trembled violently. At this time, he suddenly could not move a finger. The whooshing crocodile and the little Taichu were naturally the same. They could no longer move. It's over. Lin Tian's internal organs and back were all cold. At this moment, his body was imprisoned, and he could not move. He could not call out the divine sword in his sea of consciousness, and the primitive emperor token did not respond. How could they stop the black-robed old man? At this moment, he could only watch as the black-robed old man's hand pressed down on him, the whooshing crocodile, and the little Taichu. Clang! The void trembled, the firmament was broken, and a sword light slashed down like a thunderbolt. With a poof, the black-robed old man's hand was shattered on the spot, and his whole body flew out more than 10,000 feet away. The sealed space in all directions was restored to its original state. Lin Tian, the whooshing crocodile, and the little Taichu were all moved. Then, in the next moment, the man and the two beasts' expressions changed again. A figure silently appeared in front of them, a very familiar figure. Master! Lin Tian was shocked. Beside them, the figure that silently appeared was a middle-aged man. He was dressed in a white robe and looked unusually handsome. It was an old drunkard. Looking at the sudden appearance of an old drunkard, he was surprised and happy. He did not expect that an old drunkard would appear at this time and resolve their situation of certain death. "Boy, did you miss your masters?" The old man laughed, and his big hand fell on Lin Tion's head. In the blink of an eye, Lin Tion's hair was rubbed into a messy bird's nest. Lin Tion pushed away an old drunkard's hand that fell on his head and kept rubbing his hair. He asked, "Why are you here?" An old drunkard suddenly appeared in this place. He was both surprised and surprised. Moreover, he was slightly surprised as well. The ray of light that descended from the sky earlier had clearly been slashed by the old drunkard, and it had actually directly slashed apart the terrifying black-robed old man's hand and blasted the old man flying over 30 kilometers away. This truly caused him to be slightly shocked. Beside him, Whooshing Crocodile and Little Taichu were obviously thinking the same thing as him. They could not help but widen their eyes. "Well, I pinched my fingers and felt that your little life was in danger. Didn't I come to help you?" An old drunkard smiled lazily and said, "If my cute disciple died before me, it would be very difficult for me to send my young one off." Lin Tian was a little embarrassed. "Don't use the word cute to describe me. That's used to describe women." "Boy, don't be embarrassed. Being cute is not a monopoly of girls. Boys can be very cute too." An old drunkard put his arm around Lin Tian's neck and laughed. Lin Tian wanted to cover his face. This old guy was old and playful. Boom! In the distance, divine power vibrated. The black-robed old man soared into the sky. Rolling black light intertwined around his body, and his aura was terrifying. He stepped on the void and walked in the direction of Lin Tian and the others. His eyes fell directly on an old drunkard. "Who is it?" His voice was cold. He could naturally guess that the person who shattered his arm and sent him flying just now was an old drunkard. An old drunkard put his arm around Lin Tian's neck and looked at the black-robed old man. He narrowed his eyes slightly, paused, and said, "Immortal King." The black-robed old man's eyes narrowed slightly. There was a flash of surprise in the depths of his eyes. He was now seriously injured and his strength was greatly reduced. Ordinary people would not be able to see his strongest strength at all. However, the person in front of him saw through his peak cultivation at a glance. At the same time, Lin Tian, Whooshing Crocodile, and Little Taichu were all shocked. "This is the Immortal King?" The man and the two beasts were shocked. Although they had already guessed that this black-robed old man might be a celestial immortal or an immortal king, they still could not help but be shocked when they heard from an old drunkard that the black-robed old man was an immortal king. A immortal king was a super existence that was a full 5 realms higher than them. At the same time, they were also shocked by another point. An old drunkard could actually identify the black-robed old man's specific cultivation level at a glance. "Who are you?" On the opposite side, the black-robed old man looked at an old drunkard and asked for the second time who an old drunkard was. The dark light in his eyes intertwined. The fact that the old drunkard was able to see through his peak cultivation with a single glance made him a little concerned. He was more concerned than the fact that the old drunkard had shattered his arm and sent him flying. "Enemy?" An old drunkard's expression was languid. The black-robed old man's expression was indifferent. He naturally understood an old drunkard's meaning. An old drunkard had an extraordinary relationship with Lin Tian. He wanted to kill Lin Tian to take the primitive emperor token and the primordial pagoda. As such, whether it was an old drunkard to him or an old drunkard, they were both enemies. Then there's no need to say anything more. His voice was cold. With a boom, terrifying divine might surged, causing the entire Wanwei imperial star to tremble. All kinds of dark light intertwined, transforming into boundless phantoms. Thousands of ferocious beasts roared, and tens of thousands of spirits roared. It directly pressed down on an old drunkard and enveloped Lin Tian and the others. It was obvious that this was an extremely powerful technique that had the ability to shock the heavens and the earth. Facing such a divine ability, Lin Tian immediately trembled, and he felt as if his soul was about to shatter. There was an enormous pressure that was as vast as the starry sky that landed on his shoulder. The force was enormous, and the pressure was boundless. He felt as if he would explode in the next moment. At the same time, beside him, the whooshing crocodile and the little taichu couldn't help but tremble. However, in the next moment, the man and the two beasts felt their bodies relax. The huge pressure instantly disappeared. Buzz! An old drunkard's arm was still hooked around Lin Tian's neck. He raised his other arm slightly, and the silver Tao diagram of the four symbols appeared. It turned into a silver arc of light and met the black-robed old man's divine ability head-on. Chi! 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 Soft sounds rang out. Wherever the Tao diagram of the four symbols passed, thousands of ferocious beasts and tens of thousands of spirits were annihilated. The divine ability launched by the black-robed old man collapsed in the blink of an eye. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.